Jiang Xing's strength was limited, so he could only watch from the side. Chen Xiang and the rest were also like this. Facing such a strong primordial god, they were simply unable to help. Jiang Xing's strength was limited, so he could only watch from the side. Chen Xiang and the rest were also like this. Facing such a strong primordial god, they were simply unable to help. Yang Tianyi and the star-swallowing divine cow had erupted into an extremely intense battle in the distance. Although they could not see their figures from the city walls, they could see that in the distance, a piece of the ground that was covered by the lava had become completely red. They were evenly matched. If this continued, even if they wanted to determine the victor, it would take a long time, and it would take a long time to do so. After all, with so many things happening here and the strong warriors sent by the Divine Nations, the Divine Nations would probably intervene. If that was the case, Divine Nations had made a promise with him. If he was in a crisis, Divine Nations might come and save him. After all, he, the swallowing star cow, had decent strength. Although the elders were fighting with Chi-S, Hi plus and the rest and were suppressed by them, they had no choice but to let their entire clan attack. However, at this time, many clan members of the Star Moon divine race turned into birds and beasts, transformed into streaks of white light, and disappeared in 4 directions. These be ASTARDS. He did not expect such a thing to happen. Yuer was extremely popular in the Star Moon divine race, so it was natural that many star and crescent beasts would listen to her. Especially after knowing that the Star Moon Ancestor Emperor was treating Yuer in such a manner, they became even more furious. This group of star and crescent beasts were originally nurtured by Xing Yu's essence, and were gathered in the Star Moon divine race. Only a small portion of them were born through reproduction, so they did not have much sympathy for this Star Moon Ancestor Emperor. They liked Yuer, who often brought them joyous laughter, and Yuer had also helped them over the years. Kill them all. Chi-S Hi plus S target was the Divine Lion King. At this time, the Divine Lion King was mixed with the elders of Star Moon divine race. If they wanted to kill the Divine Lion King, they would need to eliminate the Star Moon Beast King. The moment Chi-S Hi plus gave the order, the giant divine lions, who were ready to move, launched their fierce attacks together with Chi-S Hi plus and the others. They condensed some energy in the distance and released it, and very quickly, the elders of the Star Moon divine race did not have any chance to reverse the situation. They all lost their fighting spirit, and only wanted to get rid of Chi-S Hi plus and the others quickly so that they could escape from this place and save their lives. Chi-S Hi plus. You and I are still brothers. When the Divine Lion King saw that he had lost his power, he anxiously shouted, but Chi-S Hi plus did not care about face. He mercilessly slashed with the Lion Emperor's blade. Chi-S Hi plus scoffed, Chi-Yen is also a brother, but what did you do after he was killed by your son? If you really treat us as brothers, then you shouldn't bring your precious son here, and even more so, you shouldn't let him continue to be so arrogant. When Chi-S Hi plus was killed by the Prince Divine Lions, when Chi-S Hi plus thought back to this matter, he definitely would not show mercy. He raised the Lion Emperor's battle blade in his hand again, and when it swung down, it turned into countless of blade shadows. After the Divine Lion King had been killed, Chi-S Hi plus joined the battle between the White Tiger and Elder Xing Yu. They wanted to end the battle quickly so that they would have a better understanding of the Divine Nations and avoid delaying any further. Not long after, all the elders of the Star Moon divine race were killed. Although they had powerful strength and had lived for many years, under the attacks of the terrifying primordial divine beasts of the White Tiger family, they were completely annihilated. Fortunately, the Divine City and the Divine Hall are fine. Mu Chen floated in the air and looked down. Although the Divine City and the surroundings of the shrine had been turned into a wasteland, He was not harmed at all. Right now, everyone was watching the intense battle between Yang Tianyi and the swallowing star divine cow. They didn't dare to get too close to a battle of this level, and when they recalled the blazing star released by the swallowing star G.O.D. cow, they felt a lingering fear. Yue sent a sound transmission to Chen Xiang. What the hell is this Yang Tianyi doing? He still hasn't used the power of bones up till now, so he should end this battle quickly. Yang Tianyi had merged with his star divine soul. His strength had greatly increased, but he did not use this kind of power. It was unknown if it was Yue who suddenly transmitted to Yang Tianyi, but the activity in the distance became even more intense, and there was even a terrifying amount of star power. Yang Tianyi came from the star law divine realm, and had been locked in the star moon Hel for many years, full of the power of the stars and moon. His star power was also extremely terrifying. He's finally used it. This guy isn't lazy, he's performing well. Yue transmitted her voice. Chen Xiang also wanted to test how powerful his bones would be once they fuse with a strong one. He already had the bones right now, so his strength had increased by a lot, but it just hadn't been done yet. Who is this person? We actually don't know about it. Mu Chen frowned. He looked at Chen Xiang. He's a senior from the Star Law Divine Realm. He's already been in the Super G.O.D. realm for a while. I was the one who saved him. Chen Xiang said, but he did not say anything about Yue, because Yue had enmity with the Divine Nations. Star Law Divine Realm? I think I've heard that this place is very mysterious, very far away, and much more powerful than the Divine Nations. Hi plus said. I don't know much either. Chen Xiang did not really want to go to the Star Law Divine Realm. After a short while, silence descended in the distance. Everyone was puzzled. They thought that the battle would last for a period of time, but now it had quieted down. Could it be that the battle had ended? Sure enough, the battle had ended. Yang Tianyi flew over while carrying a fiery red cow on his back. Yang Tianyi's body also had many shocking wounds, and there was even a bloody hole on his abdomen. There was blood on the horns of the cow he was carrying. The hole on Yang Tianyi's abdomen should have been caused by the horn. Brat, it's your turn. This guy only severely injured Divine Sense C and his body, so he doesn't have any strength to fight back right now. Yang Tianyi let out a light breath. Looking at his current state, one could tell that his injuries were not light. Chen Xiang immediately jumped off the city wall. He had already agreed that the star-swallowing divine cow's divine soul was his, and that he would merge it with his bones. Chen Xiang's movements were extremely fast. As soon as he arrived beside the star-swallowing divine cow, he immediately activated his soul-absorbing devil spell and swallowed the star-swallowing divine cow's divine soul. Stop him! A voice suddenly came from the sky. It was the voice of a middle-aged man in black armor warrior. This group of Divine Nations experts finally realized that Chen Xiang wanted to take away the star-swallowing divine cow's divine soul. This kind of powerful beast's divine soul was incomparably precious, and it was also extremely difficult to find. Chen Xiang had found 2 divine soul S from the star-swallowing divine cow's divine sense CS. This was considered not bad. He had already begun to take out these 2 divine soul S, and guided them to the bones S on his left arm. Chen Xiang had found 2 divine soul S from the star-swallowing divine cow's divine sense CS. This was considered not bad. He had already begun to take out these 2 divine soul S, and guided them to the bones S on his left arm. Just as he started, the experts from Divine Nations came down from the sky. They were a few middle-aged men, followed by a few elderly men, all of them being extremely powerful. One look was enough to tell that they were not a match for the swallowing star cow. At this moment, Yang Tianyi was injured. If this group of people worked together, Yang Tianyi might not be able to beat them. Quickly stop! You are not qualified to have this divine soul. His eyes were filled with a greedy light. Just by looking at it, one could tell that he also wanted this divine soul. If I am not worthy, then you are even less worthy. Chen Xiang was extremely furious, but at the same time, White Tiger, Chi-S, Hi+ and the others also rushed over. Chi-S, Hi+ said coldly, "What do you want to do? You all should have already seen who defeated this cow, and gave it to Chen Xiang. What right do you all have to say that he is not worthy?" This middle-aged man in black armor was not afraid of Chi-S, Hi+, he was stronger than him after all. If I say you're not worthy, then you're not. With that said, middle-aged man in black armor threw a punch towards Chen Xiang's head. The punch was extremely vicious, enough to kill Chen Xiang. With a wave of Chi-S, Hi+'s battle blade, the White Tiger released a streak of black mist and a flame whip from the vermilion bird. They all blocked the middle-aged man in black armor's attacks. Middle-aged man in black armor's punch was blocked, but because of it, he was infuriated. From the looks of it, a huge battle was unavoidable. Just as middle-aged man in black armor took out a long blade, Old Iron K appeared from an unknown place. His movements was extremely nimble. His hand held onto a short blade. He came up to middle-aged man in black armor from behind and quickly stabbed into middle-aged man in black armor's back. No one could have predicted this, especially the middle-aged man in black armor. He never thought that the old man from Supreme Divine Palace would actually sneak attack him, and so decisively as well. The Old Iron K was very sinister. After getting his hands on it, he ran very quickly and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, the wound on the middle-aged man in black armor's back also emitted a burst of black chi. It was obvious that the Old Iron K's short blade contained a strong poison. The Old Iron K was a force at the peak of the Supreme God realm with 19 divine deity, while this middle-aged man in black armor had 21. But now, he had been defeated by the Old Iron K. Quickly, kill these bastards. Middle-aged man in black armor covered his wounds, and crazily swallowed the divine pellets. His skin was already starting to turn black. A golden-armored middle-aged man shouted, "We will join hands and annihilate him. There will be a lot of divine soul in the divine cow's body, we will split it evenly." The red-clothed man snorted from the air. They should have already been told not to interfere in this matter when they came here. However, seeing that the divine cow was defeated, they felt like taking it for themselves. Of course, when they go back, they won't be blamed because they obtained the divine ox. But now, it seems like they won't be able to get it that easily. The old follower sighed. It's really surprising how many things have happened all of a sudden. It has to be said that this Chen Xiang is quite a character, to actually be able to take on such a strong opponent, and has so many people protecting him. The red-clothed man nodded his head. These are his friends. This is only natural. Chen Xiang was furious in his heart, but he was currently in the middle of absorbing the poison, so he could not stop at all. "Brother Yang, how are you now?" Chen Xiang asked. "I'm fine." Yang Tianyi tried his best to stand up, but just as he steadied himself, he spat out a mouthful of blood and sat down on the ground again. Luo Tianjun and Zhu Xiangyuan had also rushed over. Although they knew that they could not beat the experts from the divine nations, they could not watch Chen Xiang get killed by them. 10 or so divine nations rankers attacked together. They did not take out their weapons, but used the power of the divine sense C to suppress Chi-S, Hi+ and the others in the blink of an eye. Ards, just hurry. When I have the power of the Lion King, I will immediately destroy your dog country. Chi-S, Hi+ shouted in anger, transforming into a gigantic white lion. At this time, His divine lion race's gigantic lions also came over. An old man from the divine nations sneered. You guys have already fought a big battle and consumed so much energy. What's more, you guys are a group of people who haven't recovered much strength yet. If we kill you now, it can also prevent you from causing huge losses to our divine nations in the future. As they spoke, the White Tiger and Chi Plus were surrounded and attacked by the four elders. They cooperated extremely well, using 4 long rods to attack. The defense of the White Tiger and Chi Plus was quickly broken through, followed by a burst of sword rain. These elders of divine nations, using divine artifacts as their attack, had reached the acme of perfection, and were extremely sharp. The approaching vermilion bird was also caught up in the fray, being wildly bombarded by these old men using all sorts of powerful divine artifacts. Luo Tianjun and Zhu Xiangyuan's side were not much better off. The few middle-aged men they were facing were even more powerful, without using any methods, just punches and kicks. They were forced to retreat step by step. There was already a huge difference in cultivation, and the opponent had many people. Quickly kill them B-A-S-T-A-R-D-S. The poisoned middle-aged man in black armor roared crazily. He felt that his situation was very bad and was therefore even more furious. Chi Plus and the others were feeling very heavy right now, because if they did not get help soon, they would definitely be finished. Originally, Mu Chun and Xiao Chang'e wanted to come over, but the White Tiger had sent a sound transmission to them not to intervene. Right now, Bai Hu's group strategy was to stall for time as much as possible. They could only blame it on Qin Xiang and Yang Tianyi. If you don't use any strength, it's pretty hard to kill. A golden armored man saw through the White Tiger's intention to stall for time and sneered. A golden light exploded from his palm towards Luo Tianjun. Pavilion Master! A delicate shout came from afar. It was Shui Bingyan's voice. Shui Bingyan instantly arrived beside Luo Tianjun, and the waves of terrifying cold energy emitted from her body also shocked the experts of the divine nations, because at this moment, their feet were frozen in ice, and cold energy quickly rushed into their bodies. Chen Xiang was suddenly worried in her heart. Although Shui Bingyan was strong, her strength was limited, and now that she had fallen into battle, it was not a good thing. Bai Hu and the others hadn't thought that this usually innocent girl would actually have such terrifying strength. Her methods were also very touching. She actually wanted to save them, so she wasn't afraid of being drawn into this battle with such disparity in strength. Stupid girl, what are you doing here? Luo Tianjun was very touched, but he chided them, because he knew very well that it was impossible for Shui Bingyan to stop these divine nations' rankers. Chi Plus, who had turned into a giant white lion, also counterattacked at this time. He rushed to the front of an elder who had been frozen, and with a furious roar, tore an elder into pieces. The White Tiger and Vermilion Bird, Luo Tianjun and Zhu Xiangyuan also immediately retaliated, as well as the hidden old iron Xiosike also suddenly appeared. Shui Bingyan bought them a very valuable attack time. They definitely had to be precious, and used all of their strength to launch their most terrifying attack. The White Tiger and Vermilion Bird, Luo Tianjun and Zhu Xiangyuan also immediately retaliated, as well as the hidden old iron Xiosike also suddenly appeared. Shui Bingyan bought them a very valuable attack time. They definitely had to be precious, and used all of their strength to launch their most terrifying attack. In a split second, 5 experts from the divine nations were killed, while the White Tiger and the rest were also paralyzed on the ground. The remaining few experts from the divine nations were also able to struggle free from Shui Bingyan's frozen body, and one of the middle-aged men immediately flashed toward Shui Bingyan, striking him hard on his abdomen. Shui Bingyan cried out in pain as she was sent flying. She had just released all the cold energy in her body in order to buy some time. Feng Yujie immediately flew to catch Shui Bingyan. Bing Yen. Qin Xiang's forehead was full of veins as he roared. He really wanted to pull back his hand, but if he did, he would also receive heavy injuries. At that time, he would be a useless cripple. Yue hid inside Feng Yuji's backpack, and asked with a slightly sad tone, Bing Yen, are you alright? Luo Tianjun immediately took out a few bottles of divine pellets and threw them over. Just as he was about to take them, he was broken by the few people from divine nations. You will all die, yet you dare to resist the divine nations. A middle-aged man said coldly. It had never happened before for several divine nations' rankers to die all of a sudden, and they were even killed by an opponent of this level. The star-swallowing divine cow's divine soul was extremely tempting, and it was not just a set of divine soul. TSK, you guys are too weak. So many of you have died. Suddenly, a white-clothed man appeared. Behind him were more than 10 youths, who looked like they belonged to the divine nations. You guys have been hiding all this time, a middle-aged man said with a cold expression. If these youths had come out earlier, they might not have suffered such a huge loss. Qin Xiang looked at Shui Bingyan, who had a haggard face, his entire body S.H.I. plus veering. He was already prepared to fight to the death, as long as he could smoothly fuse with the divine soul. Hee, it's not like you guys don't know that this guy has 6 realms mirrors on him. Back then, the 6 Divine Lord S had plotted against a few of their Divine Lord S using the 6 realms mirrors, and recklessly attacked him, which was not a wise decision, but to observe from the side for a period of time. The white-clothed man smiled, looked at Qin Xiang, and continued to speak. Seeing that he's been forced to such a state, he probably doesn't know how to use the 6 realms divine palace technique, so I can relax and come out. The white-robed man looked at the corpses lying on the ground and shook his head. It seems that what I've done was quite wise. Their fight just now was quite outstanding, and if it had been us, we would have suffered. It's a pity. Now that we have more people, we will also have to split the divine cow's divine soul equally. The white-clothed man walked towards Qin Xiang step by step. Half of the divine nations' strong warriors had originally died, but now there were more than 10, which meant that there were already 15. If they could obtain the G.O.D. cow's divine deity and divine deity, they would have been evenly split. However, the white-clothed man and the others would split more between them. As for the middle-aged man and the old man, half of them had died. When the man in white walked over, he suddenly saw a small dot in the distant sky. When he looked carefully, his expression changed drastically. He let out a scream and was sent flying. At that moment, everyone saw something smash into the man in white's handsome face. That thing looked like a book, but it was transparent. Seeing this transparent book, Qin Xiang was overjoyed. It was Huang Jintian's Tianyan God record. Huang Jintian was a strong ranker back in the primordial era, but because he could not get through the big tribulation, he was constantly reborn. Now that he had suddenly appeared, it was clear that he had said through a great tribulation. Not only had he recovered his memories, but he had also regained his strength. Who was plotting against me? Did you come from the divine nations? Although the man in white had his face smashed and was bleeding profusely, he still maintained his calm as he asked with his ice-cold voice. So what if I'm plotting against you? The guy who killed people for their goods. Huang Jintian's voice came out, and with it, he stood right in front of Qin Xiang and the others. Master, quickly check on Bingyan's condition. Qin Xiang anxiously told Huang Jintian. He was extremely worried for Shui Bingyan. I have expended too much energy, and my body suffered some internal injuries. Divine Sense C is fine. Huang Jintian glanced at Shui Bingyan and said indifferently, she is a Tao spirit and has cultivated up to the innate Tao body. She won't die that easily. Huang Jintian looked at the group of divine nations and snorted. You divine nations are still the same. Just who are you? A middle-aged man asked. Although they could not see Huang Jintian's cultivation level, they knew that he was powerful. If not, he would not have been able to injure the white-clothed youth so severely. Bidong secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that Huang Jintian was the extremely famous old immortal. If he did not pass through the Tianyan God record, he would not be able to recognize Huang Jintian. Now that Huang Jintian knew how to use Tianyan God record to attack, it showed that Huang Jintian had already awakened his memories. I'm Qin Xiang's master. You guys don't have a backer for bullying my kid, right? Huang Jintian suddenly dodged, retreating behind Qin Xiang. He slapped his palm on Qin Xiang's back. Follow the mental cultivation method that I said down to you. Quickly complete the fusion of bones and soul. When they heard this, the experts of the divine nations were all shocked, as were White Tiger, Mu Chun and the others. Qin Xiang wasn't even a primordial God, but he was actually able to condense bones. If he also fused with the divine cow's divine soul, then he would become a primordial God in the future, and his strength would be unimaginable. With Huang Jintian's help, Qin Xiang very quickly absorbed 3 sets of powerful divine soul and 5 pellets of divine deity and merged them into his bones. At this moment, his arm had also swelled up, and he looked as if he contained unparalleled strength. The white-clothed man sprinkled some sparkling powder on his face. His injured face quickly recovered and he said coldly, "Don't be afraid of him. His cultivation is only slightly higher than ours. We can still deal with him if we join hands. You should know what happens when you go against our divine nations, especially these divine beasts." The white-clothed man looked at the white tiger, Chi-S. H.I. and the others, then looked at Qin Xiang and laughed coldly. "So what if your bones has fused with your soul? You will definitely die today." Huang Jintian said to Qin Xiang, "Prepare to use the 6 realms mirrors, pour my power into it later. Then, do as I say and control the 6 realms mirrors, activate some of the array patterns inside." Huang Jintian stood behind Qin Xiang and put a hand on his shoulder, then began to instill the vast mysterious power in his body. When Qin Xiang felt it, he was extremely shocked. Huang Jintian's powerful mysterious power that had entered his body made him feel like he was mud, as if he could be crushed anytime by the force. When these divine nations' warriors came to the Super God realm, they thought that they were high and mighty. The people of the Super God realm were like ants, but now they were oppressed and several of them died. They could not just run away like this. They would be laughed at to death. When these divine nations' warriors came to the Super God realm, they thought that they were high and mighty. The people of the Super God realm were like ants, but now they were oppressed and several of them died. They could not just run away like this. They would be laughed at to death. The dozens of divine nations' rankers seemed to have made an agreement as they immediately flew up. 5 of them rushed towards the white tiger and the rest, while the rest rushed towards Qin Xiang and Huang Jintian. Upon sensing this momentum, he knew that the other party was going all out this time. Qin Xiang waved his hand and released a hexagonal disc. The white-clothed man had sharp eyes and immediately saw this thing. He was extremely shocked, because this was a 6 realms mirrors. You can't escape. Qin Xiang saw that the man in white had retracted his power. After the 6 realms mirrors was flung out by Qin Xiang, it floated in the air and released many black lights. These black lights entered into the bodies of the divine nations' warriors separately. 6 soul-locating arrays can paralyze the soul and cause it to be unable to control the body and move. This was what Qin Xiang found out when he opened the array patterns on the 6 realms mirrors. He knew that there were a lot of terrifying killing formations inside the 6 realms mirrors, but he wasn't strong enough to open them. Just now, Huang Jintian had given him a lot of power, telling him to open the 6 soul-imprisoning arrays to lock these divine nations experts. After he was done, Chen Xiang took out the God slaughtering sword. At this moment, he no longer needed divine soul. He walked over to the white-clothed man and brandished the God slaughtering sword, SLAs. Hi+ing down at him. The white-clothed man was unable to move or even speak. He could only widen his eyes in fear as he watched the God Slayer's sword hack down on him, taking away his life. Hurry up and finish it. Time is limited. Huang Jintian immediately jumped to the front of an old man and smashed him into pieces with his palm. At this time, the crowd on the city wall, as well as White Tiger and the others, just watched Chen Xiang kill all of the Divine Nations' rankers with one sword strike. You were the one who injured Bing Yan earlier, right? Chen Xiang looked at a middle-aged man who was lying on the ground. This middle-aged man should have pounced like he was flying towards him to attack, but because he was struck by the 6 soul-locating arrays, he fell to the ground. Chen Xiang hated this man to the bones. He stored up all his 6 realms' power and hacked down, releasing a silver flame that entered the middle-aged man's body. Under the strong pressure of the sword, the fire burned even more fiercely, instantly burning the middle-aged man to ashes. In just a moment's time, all of these people who had wanted to SNATCH the divine cow's divine soul had been killed. These were all experts from the divine nations. They could kill as they wished, and they had to kill as many as they wanted. If the divine nations pursued this matter, the consequences would be dire. Those who had some understanding of the divine nations were currently deeply afraid that the anger of the divine nations would burn to them. The red-clothed man watched everything from midair and sighed. You said you wanted to SNATCH Chen Xiang's heavenly alchemy? Now you see, this is the result. When you push people to their deaths, they will not care whether you are divine nations or not. In their eyes, there is only resistance, because that is the only way to survive. This kind of expert was not one that they could deal with. If not for the fact that Yang Tianyi had suffered heavy injuries from his fight with the swallowing star God cow, those experts from the divine nations would not have appeared. Although they did not see him actually fighting, but they were sure that it was also very scary. The reason he helped Chen Xiang activate the 6 realms mirrors killing array was probably to hide his true strength. At this time, the mountain-like white crocodile flew over, and above him was Jiang Sheng. Feng Yujie gave Yuer's bag that he had hidden away to Chen Xiang, and took Shui Bingyan to the Yin Yao ring to heal her wounds. Hi+ and the others rode on the white crocodile. White to the Lion King's tomb. Hi+ said to the white crocodile. If he could not go back to Supreme Divine Palace and the heroes gathering Divine City after what had happened, it would only implicate them. Everyone was already very tired, and Yang Tianyi had also been injured, so most of his energy had been used up. If they were to encounter another strong warrior, they could only rely on Huang Jintian. Chen Xiang sat on top of the white crocodile and looked at Yang Tianyi's injuries. It looked to be more serious, but he had to say something. This brother's body is too scary. The effect of my divine pill isn't very good either. Luo Tianjun took out a Shangpin Dan and placed it in Yang Tianyi's mouth. Just sleep for a few days. It's nothing much. Yang Tianyi's voice was a little weak as he lightly smiled. Huang Jintian looked at the heroes gathering Divine City that was gradually disappearing and let out a sigh of relief. Luckily I came here quickly, and I had expected something bad to happen today. If not, all of you would have been dead by now. Other than Luo Tianjun, Old Iron Sea, O.C.K. Zhu Xiangyuan, and a few others, most of the people on the white crocodile's back recognized Huang Jintian. However, they also knew that Huang Jintian was Chen Xiang's master, and they felt that it was inconceivable for him to suddenly become so powerful. Big Brother Qi, where is your divine lion race? Aren't you going to arrange for them? Chen Xiang asked. I've already told them to go to the Lion Emperor's tomb. Hi+ laughed and poked his backpack. He heard a meow sound coming from inside and laughed. That little white cat is inside, right? Yue stuck her head out, stuck out her tongue, and said, "Thank you for your hard work, everyone, but I have more or less dragged everyone here. If everyone has the chance to go to Star Law Divine Realm in the future, I will definitely not mistreat you." Huang Jintian frowned. Star Law Divine Realm? You came from the Star Law Divine Realm? He didn't know about these things, but he seemed to know Yue. Back then, I heard the All-Beast Divine Lord mention samsara sacrifice. I didn't expect that there were still many things hidden inside. Chen Xiang and Yang Tianyi were relatively clear about this matter, but no one else was aware of it. So there was actually such a story. After hearing the truth, everyone sighed. It wasn't easy for Yue to go through so many tragic things. You are from the undead divine race, and your roots should be in the Star Law Divine Realm as well. The Tianyan God record you use should be based on the power of the stars, and only an inexhaustible amount of star power can sustain your Tianyan God record's sky spill divine abacus. Yue said. Huang Jintian nodded his head. He was very clear about his own background, and he had even more of a story. You old fogey! The white tiger and the other God beasts shouted in alarm at the same time, because they had all heard of the legend of the old Tianyan God record not dying. Huang Jintian laughed. Back then, when you were very young, I had hugged you all. It's just that many years have passed, and I have already changed my appearance many times. You no longer recognize me. Chen Xiang asked curiously, Master, how long have you lived for? Huang Jintian laughed bitterly. I also want to know. I can't remember myself. In short, I have been to many places. This was something that Chen Xiang had learned from Yue. Now that Chi.H.I Plus wanted to bring them to the Lion King's mausoleum, it was because Chi.H.I Plus could safely enter and exit the mausoleum. This was something that Chen Xiang had learned from Yue. Now that Chi.H.I Plus wanted to bring them to the Lion King's mausoleum, it was because Chi.H.I Plus could safely enter and exit the mausoleum. The Lion Emperor's mausoleum should be the safest place now. Although the Lion Emperor is already dead, the mausoleum he constructed when he was still alive is not simple at all. The white tiger stared at a blurry silhouette in front of it. That was the Lion Emperor's mausoleum. Due to its size, one could see its blurry silhouette from far away. Yue replied, The Lion Emperor's tomb is over 100,000 meters tall. It is said that it was built with a lot of blood and sweat, all for the sake of passing on the divine lion race's powerful bloodline and cultivation technique. The strength of the Lion Emperor is comparable to that of the Divine Lord, or maybe even stronger than that of the divine nations. Chen Xiang was a little puzzled. Since the Lion Emperor is so powerful, why did he still die? An all-beast divine lord too? Yue looked at Huang Jintian. Your master should know that he is from undead divine race, and specifically records all sorts of major events that happen under the heavens. It was said that it was also because of this that they received the treatment of never dying. Huang Jintian curled his lips. Our undead divine race also has a lot of things. However, the reason why the Lion Emperor and the All-Beast Divine Lord died was mainly because the opponents they faced back then were the 9 divine nations. As long as it is a living being, it will die. Divine Lord's level has already reached the peak of strength and can no longer break through. If you stay here longer, your lifespan will also run out. This is a result of the time that nature has given birth to, and it's unavoidable. Chen Xiang laughed. Master, what about you? Aren't you undead race? It shouldn't be dead. Huang Jintian sighed. Right now, that's not bad, but who knows what will happen to me in the future? Actually, I have lived all this time, and this has been a form of punishment for me. Luo Tianjun asked. Old Senior Immortal, I heard from Old E that 9 Gods Nation has met with a crisis. Does that mean that 9GODS Nation won't send any strong guys to deal with us in the near future? The 9GODS Nation was troubled by some things, but what was it? Why did they allow 9 such powerful divine nations to face such a crisis? Huang Jintian knew about many things, and everyone was looking at him, hoping to learn some important things from him. Huang Jintian said, "This is related to what I said just now. The main reason is that the 9 divine nations can't hold on any longer. But all these years, these divine lord have had a large number of children, and most of these children have very good inherent skills which allowed them to inherit the talent of those divine lords. Furthermore, they received an extremely rich amount of resources and were guided by a master teacher the moment they were born. 9GODS Nation's divine lord was about to run out of lifespan. This made Chen Xiang and the others extremely surprised. It was good news for them. Now they understood the danger of the 9GODS Nation. The children of the Divine Lord must be forming gangs and fighting for the throne. If their strengths were similar, they would definitely not accept anyone, and in the end, it would only become a war, and the huge divine nations would also be split because of this. Jiangxing frowned. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for us? Huang Jintian looked at the Lion Emperor Divine Mountain, which was getting closer and closer, and said, "Right now, it is a good thing, at least after 9 Heaven World absorbs Super G. O. D realm, we will have a period of steady development. The only thing that I am more worried about is that, after the internal civil war, the 9GODS nation will definitely split into many small nations." Luo Tianjun laughed. "Isn't that a good thing?" "Not necessarily," Huang Jintian said sincerely. "If a strong guy suddenly pops out and exterminated the scattered 9GODS nation, unifying everything, then 9 Heaven World would definitely be affected." Chi plus curled his lips and said, "Back then, when I unified the 9 Heaven World, an extremely terrifying thing happened to me as well. I hope that this 9GODS nation will not repeat itself." Huang Jintian nodded his head. "That is indeed the case. We can only consolidate our strength as soon as possible in case we get affected later on." Yang Tianyi laughed. "The best is to go to the Star Law Divine Realm to hide. That place to accept anyone is because the rules are strict." Huang Jintian shook his head. "That won't do. If 9GODS nation is united, then this guy who is unified will definitely have greater ambitions, and at that time, it might even be possible to deal with Star Law Divine Realm. Don't forget, 9GODS nation's strength also makes Star Law Divine Realm apprehensive. Of course, if the 9 Divine Lords die, their power would definitely drop by a huge amount." When Feng Yujie came out of the Serene Jade Ring, Yue immediately asked, "How is Bing Yan?" "She's asleep. Her recovery ability is quite amazing. There's nothing wrong with her now." Feng Yujie heard them talking outside. "Senior, do you have a way for me to return to the 9 Heaven World now? I want to go back first. After all, so many things have happened and I never would have thought that there would be a change in 9GODS nation." The reason why Feng Yujie came here was also to investigate the situation in the 9GODS nation. Now that she knew the situation in the 9GODS nation had turned out like this, she had to rush back and adjust her strategy. Chen Xiang said, "Are you going back alone? I want to bring Bingyan back." Feng Yujie sighed softly. "If she's willing." Of course Shui Bingyan was willing. She was very reliant on others, especially Feng Yujie. Luo Tianjun and Zhu Xiangyuan ran back from Supreme Divine Palace, and now, they were not going to return for a while. After discussing for a while, they decided to stay in the Lion Emperor's tomb for a while. Huang Jintian said, "I can open up a path for you guys to head back." Chen Xiang, "What about you?" "I still need to stay here and look for the 4 symbols divine weapons. I have already found one, and only now do I know that the four symbols' divine weapons will not be in a fixed location and can run around by herself. Chen Xiang's reaction towards the four symbols' divine weapons was always very chaotic, which was why he said that. That four symbols' divine weapons was refined by the heavenly divine Lord. Of course he was powerful. He would not be surprised if he was able to run around randomly while breaking through SPAC. The White Tiger said, "Yu Jie, go back to the Nine Heaven World and ask the Azure Dragon and Black Turtle to come here. Let's see if we can revive the All-Beast Divine Lord." Feng Yujie nodded. Back then, the All-Beast Divine Lord had also fought against the 9GODS nation, and this was their ally. Huang Jintian sighed, "Even if they resurrect, they won't be able to live for long. Those Divine Lord from back then all had similar lifespans." Both the White Tiger and the Vermilion Bird were somewhat sad. The Vermilion Bird asked, "Is there no way to continue living?" "Of course there are, but the hopes are slim, so in Star Law Divine Realm, many old fellows who have lived to the end would not do anything terrifying when their lifespan was almost up. They would usually go look for the person who created this world, and no one would know where they would find them. The 9 divine nations would probably have embarked on this road as well. If not, they would have killed the ones they disliked, or destroyed the divine nations of the enemy with their lives. There was actually a way, but it sounded illusory, but it was also the only hope. Yang Tianyi said, "Old fart, why don't you follow me back to the Star Law Divine Realm? You can only become stronger after you return to that place. You should be very curious about whether there are people from your undead divine race in the Star Law Divine Realm or not, right?" Yang Tianyi said, "Old fart, why don't you follow me back to the Star Law Divine Realm? You can only become stronger after you return to that place. You should be very curious about whether there are people from your undead divine race in the Star Law Divine Realm or not, right?" Huang Jintian nodded his head. "Okay, I will go with you." Everyone had already arrived at the bottom of the Lion Emperor's divine mountain, which was also the Lion Emperor's tomb. In a large mountain range, there was a door on the Lion Mountain's huge chest. Chen Xiang was also in a hurry to find the other 3 divine weapons, the need to quickly bring out 9 divine kings. Otherwise, if 9 Heaven World continued to grow at this rate, sooner or later, he would be targeted by a powerful force. After a few days, everyone had recovered. Shui Bingyan was a lot better, as she and Yue reluctantly bade farewell to him, and then followed Feng Yujie to enter the spatial tunnel that Huang Jintian had opened, heading towards the 9 Heaven World. Yue had to follow Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang also needed a very experienced pilot in the Super God realm, and Yue was the best choice. Huang Jintian and Yang Tianyi, the better, let's return to the Star Law Divine Realm together. Although Yue also wanted to return, she still planned to wait until she recovered her strength. She felt that if she were to return now, it would definitely be very embarrassing. Hi Plus also had to focus on developing his divine lion race. In the future, he had to protect his own divine lion race from being destroyed. When Feng Yujie returned to the 9 Heaven World, one reason was because he needed to bring back the Bone-Level Dan's divine medicine and a few divine pills. If he could get these divine pills early in the 9 Heaven World, he would be able to quickly become strong. Chen Xiang was far away from the Lion Emperor Divine Mountain, so he searched for the other 3 divine weapons according to his senses. That feeling was very blurry, and did not inform him which divine weapon it was, so he was unsure, and sometimes the feeling even disappeared. The Heavenly Divine Lord is still in the ninefold SPAC. There is a possibility of revival. But if he resurrects, his lifespan might very well be running out like the other Divine Lord Chen Xiang said. This was what the Great Divine Lord had told him back then. "Actually, I'm not going to die either. I've died many times, just like your master." Yue laughed. "There is a secret that I am only telling you. Actually, your master's undead divine race and I have some sort of relations. Hi plus P. Chun Xiang was not too surprised. Yuer came from the star law divine realm, and she was even some law enforcer. Yuer continued. In this super God realm, neither the divine lion race nor the divine lion race profess themselves to be their own, but actually exist. It was just that the star moon divine race here was not the orthodox school, it could be considered a branch. The ox God of swallowing star also has the blood of the star moon divine race in it, and other beasts also have the same thing, because they are born with the ability to absorb the power of the stars and moon to cultivate. What about the divine lion race? There are divine lion races in the star law divine realm? Chun Xiang never thought that the super God realm's 10 great God tribes would actually have such an influential background. There are humans in the star law divine realm. But the divine lion race and the dragon race are all beasts, they all belong to the God race. Yuer replied, of course there are 6 great God races in star law divine realm. There are 3 beasts. Divine Lion Race, Dragon Clan, and Cat Race, while the other 3 are Star Moon Divine Race, Undead Divine Race, and Herculean God Tribe. Among them, the Star Moon Divine Race are relatively different, they are beast-type and human-like. Chun Xiang laughed. Yuer, is this cat race related? Yuer nodded and said, I have 3 God bloodline, Undead Divine Race S, Star Moon Divine Race S, and Cat Race S in my body. My mother was from the Cat Race, and my father was from the Star Moon Divine Race. But my father had the bloodline of both the Undead Divine Race and the Star Moon Divine Race in his body, so I inherited them. Chun Xiang said in shock. So that means your grandfather and grandmother are respectively from Undead Divine Race and Star Moon Divine Race? Aren't you very strong since you inherited the blood of the 3 God race? Yuer laughed complacently. Of course I'm very strong. Do you think that the Star Law Divine Realm's enforcer can casually become one? Back then, I had to take many examinations to pass. Xiao Chou and Zhu Xiangyuan were both from the giant God clan, and their strengths were not bad. Yuer, how is the Star Law Divine Realm's Tan God clan? That bald disciple of mine has the blood of the Tan God clan, will they accept him in the future? Chun Xiang asked. Of course I will. When I left the Star Law Divine Realm back then, the number of people in the Herculean God tribe were few and far between. After so many years of development, there are not many clan members who can be found in other worlds and even grow up. Yuer said. The 9 heaven world had dragons and cats, the Super God realm had dragons and cats, and the Super God realm had Divine Lion Race and Divine Lion Race. It could be seen how terrifying the God tribes of the Star Law Divine Realm were. Chun Xiang asked again, are all 6 God clans very powerful? Were those rules set by them in the Star Law Divine Realm? At this time, Chun Xiang had already stopped to rest. Yuer flew out to eat, using her tongue to lick the sweet ice fruit juice Shui Bingyan had left her. No, the 6 God race only supported this rule. They did not make it, and they are restricted by many rules. This way they could avoid large-scale wars. No matter who it was, they had to follow these rules, because at the moment, the strongest was only at the Divine Lord level. Furthermore, it is not as though a Divine Lord, who is unable to create much of a storm in Star Law Divine Realm, has never been punished before. For example, it was not allowed to sell divine pellets without permission, only those who set the rules could sell them. Thus, if one wanted to rely on alchemy to earn Shen Yuan stone, they could only rely on those powers. After resting, Chun Xiang suddenly had a feeling that there was a 4 symbols divine weapons not far from him, and he was still moving. What's going on with these 4 symbols divine weapons? Run around. Chun Xiang was extremely depressed. If he could just lock himself in one spot, he could just directly go and search. These spiritual weapons would usually hide in very dangerous places. These dangerous places are meant for humans, so you have to be careful. Yue replied, a divine weapon crafted by the Divine Lord. The most powerful ones that are able to attack people on their own. If one is not careful, one would be killed by the Grand God. In the afternoon, the sky was entirely covered by thick gray clouds, although there was no sunlight ning on it. This kind of overcast sky still made people feel a sense of pressure. Chen Xiang chased after the divine weapon and arrived next to a large piece of black mud. He threw a large stone over, and when the stone came into contact with the black mud, it immediately sank, and then began to emit black smoke. Is it highly toxic? Chen Xiang smelled a terrible stench, and then he threw a low-rank divine blade into the black swamp. This low-rank divine blade was very stu.r.dy, but after entering the black swamp, it instantly turned into black qi. Is it highly toxic? Chen Xiang smelled a terrible stench, and then he threw a low-rank divine blade into the black swamp. This low-rank divine blade was very stu.r.dy, but after entering the black swamp, it instantly turned into black qi. Yue looked at the endless black quagmire in front of her and said, this should be the evil mud pond. Legend says that it's because a very vicious evil beast died here that it became like this. As long as it doesn't sink in, it's fine. Chen Xiang rose into the air and flew according to his senses towards the divine weapon. If he was in the evil mud pond, it would not be easy to take it out. Is it really safe here? Chen Xiang could not help but ask, because he realized that very few people entered. Even in the air, there were no birds flying, obviously wanting to avoid this place. Of course not, this is a dangerous place. Be careful. Yue replied, as long as it's a dangerous place, there will always be hidden dangers. Because the elders of the Star-Moon divine race rarely visit this place, I'm not very familiar with it either. In the blink of an eye, Chen Xiang had already entered the depths of this evil mud pit. He had used the power of the spatial laws to travel this entire way, and did not stay on the surface for long. How long has this evil quagmire existed for? Chen Xiang asked. Waves of death aura pervaded this evil mud pond, and occasionally, the chilly wind would blow over, causing a black stench and mist. Especially when they arrived at the depths, it gave off an extremely oppressive feeling. It's been many years. Legend has it that the magical beast that died was in existence close to the emperor level. After he died, the poisonous blood came out and corroded his corpse, then spread out. After a long time, it became like this. Yue asked, did you find anything wrong? I didn't sense anything. Yue's perception was extremely strong, and even if she did not discover anything, Chen Xiang had even less of a chance. Chen Xiang shook his head and said, staying here makes me very uncomfortable. Yue said, this is usually the case for places like this. There is a large amount of death aura here, and when that poisonous beast died here, there would definitely be a large number of creatures that died afterwards as well. If that delay weapon was hidden here, it would be very safe. No one would want to come to this place. Do you feel that divine weapon now? It's near here. Chen Xiang floated above the evil mud pond, and slowly flew towards a place that looked like a whirlpool. Just as Chen Xiang was about to go over, Yue anxiously shouted, don't go over there. However, Chen Xiang had already flown up above, and when he heard Yue's shout, he immediately teleported away, only to see a soft black object suddenly shooting out of the vortex like lightning, about 100 meters long, straight into the sky, looking like a very long black tongue. That was close. Chen Xiang said in shock. Be careful down there. Yue shouted in alarm. Chen Xiang anxiously activated SPAC domain, isolating himself from the SPAC. Although a black vortex appeared below him, He was unable to extend his black tongue. Chen Xiang distanced himself from the whirlpool and threw out a large piece of beast meat that was stored inside the ring. That black tongue of his shot out again and agilely wrapped around the huge piece of beast meat. Chen Xiang slashed his sword from afar, releasing a ray of sword qi condensed from 6 realms power, cutting that black long tongue apart. After his tongue was cut off, the entire swamp was suddenly like a surging wave, surging up and down violently. Chen Xiang anxiously floated up to the sky. It was obvious that something was trying to come out from under the mud. It should be the evil beast with the tongue. This thing's size is really big. Chen Xiang looked at the bog that was churning up and down from high up in the sky, and he could tell what it was from this. What exactly is this thing? Soon, he got his answer. It was a dragon that had emerged from the depths of the quagmire. Coming to the Super God realm, this was the first time he saw a dragon. However, this dragon was very ugly, and there were 2 dragons of varying sizes. This evil dragon that was covered in poisonous mud was not only huge, it also had a strange appearance. It had many pairs of legs, like a centipede, its 2 heads were covered with black scales, and the smaller head had closed eyes, as if it was dead. Maybe it was because it absorbed too much of the poisonous beast's blood that it grew into this state. Looks like the poisonous beast was originally a huge centipede, and this poisonous dragon came to this place and fused with the centipede's divine deity. Yue said, "It won't be hard to deal with them." Chen Xiang frowned. "I can feel a divine weapon moving close to me. Could it be in this guy's stomach? If it's like that, it's very likely to be the Azure Dragon divine weapon." After his small head's tongue was chopped off, it caused him great pain. He immediately popped out to see what was going on, and only saw Chen Xiang floating in the air. He was furious in his heart, and spewed out a black poison towards Chen Xiang. Although the speed of the poison flying at was much faster, it was nothing to Chen Xiang. He easily dodged it and immediately executed the Soul Destroyer slash within the dragon, slaying 7 killing strikes, directly attacking the 100-legged poison dragon's divine soul. This 100-legged poison dragon wasn't very powerful. It was just that its entire body was poisonous and its size was huge. If it were to sneak attack him while hiding under the quagmire, it would be easy for him to get it. Chen Xiang struck straight at the 100-legged poison dragon's divine soul, and only heard the dragon let out a furious roar. Then, its body began to struggle violently, causing the black-colored mud to churn chaotically like a raging tide. Dead. Chen Xiang released the Chuangzhao Fire S from the 100-legged poisonous dragon's body and ignited it. Just as the flames were burning, a green light suddenly shot out. It really is the Azure Dragon divine weapon. Chen Xiang was ecstatic. He anxiously teleported to catch it. The green dragon demon-slain broadsword from before had already been destroyed. That blade was very large and domineering, but this one seemed much smaller with a trace of gold in the middle. "Is it complete?" Yue asked. Previously, when Chen Xiang had obtained profound Wu clothing that lacked divine deity, they were incomplete divine weapons. It's complete. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been running all over the place. I never would have expected him to be parasitic in the body of this 100-legged poisonous dragon. Chen Xiang held onto the green dragon divine saber tightly, and slashed at the black swamp below. He did not use the 6 realms power, but the force produced by the divine blade had created a deep cut. It feels pretty good. Now, there's only 2 more. Chen Xiang closed his eyes, and quietly sensed the direction of the other divine weapons. After a while, he still didn't feel anything, but Yue sensed someone heading their way. There are more than 10 guys flying over. They seem to be in a hurry. Could it be that they're coming for this 100-legged poison dragon? These 10 people came here very quickly. Yue had just told Chen Xiang about this matter, and they already appeared. These 10 people came here very quickly. Yue had just told Chen Xiang about this matter, and they already appeared. The 100-legged poison dragon had already been burnt by Qin Xiang and was still burning. "You're the one who killed the poison dragon?" a burly man asked, his voice trembling with anger. "I killed him. What happened?" Qin Xiang didn't hide anything. Since the poison dragon had attacked him first, he had a reason to kill it. Qin Xiang said that he killed him, and more than 10 swords immediately pierced over, as though there was an irreconcilable hatred between him and Qin Xiang. They hacked over frantically. Qin Xiang dodged and secretly took a deep breath. If he did not dodge just now, he would have been severely injured. "This is our treasure, you actually killed it. Then, you can go and die as well." The big man was furious. The big sword in his hand flashed and turned into hundreds of swords that swept over. Qin Xiang laughed coldly. "All right then, since the poison dragon is your treasure, you all can accompany him to H.E.L.L. The azure dragon divine saber appeared in his hands, SLAs. H.I. +ing horizontally and opening the 2 long swords that came piercing at him. "It's in his hands, hurry up and S.N.A.T.C.H. it." When the big-sized man saw Qin Xiang release the azure dragon divine blade, his face was filled with surprise and joy, and his attacks became even fiercer. Qin Xiang faced a dozen or so heaven-defying experts, but he was extremely skilled. Now, he understood that these people should have long since known that the poison dragon's body had such a divine blade. It was just that they were unable to retrieve it. Furthermore, they had used some secret method to keep an eye on the poison dragon's movements. As a result, the moment the poisonous dragon died, they immediately ran over. "So you guys should also know the origins of this blade." Qin Xiang suddenly flashed, leaving an illusion where he was standing, while the real person appeared behind a young man. The young man had 2 divine veins, which merged with the divine cow's divine soul. His left arm was filled with energy, and he struck the young man's waist. Qin Xiang did not add 6 realms power to his left arm, but instead directly used the power of his body. Even so, his power was still extremely terrifying, and adding that extremely quick punch, it produced wave after wave of sonic booms as it forcefully tore through S.P.A.C., causing black cracks to appear. When such a terrifying punch was punched out, all of the people present were instantly stunned. When the fist was just an inch away from the young man's back, the young man's entire body was instantly ripped apart by the immense force. Qin Xiang's fist seemed to be wrapped in some kind of terrifying G.O.D.-like power. It did not even touch the young man's body, but directly penetrated through and tore his body apart. Boom! A white flame burst out from his fist, and the young man's body turned into ashes in an instant. Qin Xiang kept his azure dragon divine blade and sneered, "With your little strength, you are not worthy enough for me to use the divine blade. Who the H.E.L.L. are you? Do you know where we came from?" When the people across from him saw that Qin Xiang seemed to have an extremely deep understanding towards the divine blade, and that he was also extremely strong, they calmed down as well. "I don't want to know where you came from. I know you wanted to kill me, but now, no matter what you say, I will kill you." As Qin Xiang finished speaking, he threw a punch across the air, and that terrifying left fist combined with his spatial power, as if he had entered a spatial passageway. That fist came from afar and landed on an old man, and that old man's torn body was instantly burnt to ashes by the white flames. "Run!" The leading man could already roughly estimate Qin Xiang's strength. It was not something they could handle. They were able to escape very quickly, but they found an extremely terrifying time. No matter what they were running, they were actually still running. At this time, they were already inside Qin Xiang's S.P.A.C. domain. The fixed rules of this S.P.A.C. were all set by Qin Xiang, so it was impossible for them to escape. Spatial / H. Plus, with a chop of Qin Xiang's hand, the S.P.A.C. of these 10 odd people was sliced into many small pieces. All of their bodies were also turned into small pieces, and eventually burned into ashes. However, there was a jade token that was not burned down. It belonged to the man. Chun Xiang picked up the jade tablet, which had the words, Heavenly Fire Divine Country, written on it. These fellows are actually from the Heavenly Fire Divine Country, but why are they so weak? Said. Even though it was the first time he had heard of the Heavenly Fire Divine Country, it was obvious that he was one of them. They should be in charge of taking care of this poisonous dragon. As for taking care of it, it should be the work of the experts in the divine nations. They seem to already know that the 4 symbols divine weapons can revive the heavenly divine lord. Yue said. Chun Xiang still lacked 2 divine weapons to gather all 4, and at that time, he would be able to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, then enter into the 9-fold SPAC, and with the 5th divine weapon in his hands, he would be able to come out. Over here. After Chun Xiang sensed the 3rd divine weapon, he immediately teleported over. An hour after Chun Xiang left the evil mud pit, a huge meteorite fell there, leaving a huge pit behind. Floating above the pit was a man dressed in flaming red armor. His cape was burning with raging flames and was flying along with the wind, looking very cool. The poison dragon has been killed, the divine blade has been taken away, and those dozens of trash have also died. This Chun Xiang's strength has actually risen so fast. If he found 4 symbols divine weapons, then Heavenly Divine Lord would very likely revive. The man furrowed his brows and took out a jade medallion as if he was communicating through voice transmission. After sending a sound transmission for a moment, he exclaimed, They're actually all dead. What was going on? They are all at a level beyond the realm of the true God, but to think that they would be killed in such a place. What surprised the man was the few experts who were sent to partake. 1p8 in the Heroes Gathering Divine City Compet. 1 Tian. Back then, they wanted to SN. ATC. The Divine Soul of the Swallowing Star God, but they were killed by Chun Xiang and the others. I have to go to Supreme Divine Palace to ask. The man disappeared in a flash. At this time, Chun Xiang was not aware that an expert from the divine nations had appeared, but Yue felt something. Strange, something fell from the sky just now. Could it be that the divine nations' guys have come? Yue replied, Those divine nations are all on the stars in the sky. If they found out that the poisonous dragon was killed, they should be able to arrive in about an hour. The people who were killed last time were also all from divine nations. I don't think those divine nations know about it yet. Chun Xiang was a little worried. I'm more worried that Supreme Divine Palace and his son might be implicated by us. Supreme Divine Palace and 6 Realms Divine Palace have some of the power left behind by the 9 Divine Kings, and it will come into play at a critical moment. If something really does happen, I think Mu Chun and Xiao Chang'e, as palace masters, will have ways to avoid it. Yue replied, Your top priority right now is to find the other 2 divine weapons. Chun Xiang kept on walking in a certain direction based on his senses. He already did not know where he was. He only knew that he was getting closer and closer to the other divine weapon. Chun Xiang relied on his senses to walk away. Right now, the place he was heading to was extremely hot and he felt that something was off. Although this place could make him perspire profusely from the heat, there were many emerald green trees and beautiful flowers of all different colors growing here. Chun Xiang relied on his senses to walk away. Right now, the place he was heading to was extremely hot and he felt that something was off. Although this place could make him perspire profusely from the heat, there were many emerald green trees and beautiful flowers of all different colors growing here. This place is like a furnace, but there are so many plants growing here. This is unbelievable. Chun Xiang took out a holy flower. Just as he took it out, the red holy flower suddenly dried up and turned yellow. Unexpectedly, it was because this place was too overheated. The inside was dried up. Yue exclaimed, It's very possible that this is one of the most famous places in Super realm. Chen Xiang plucked a leaf and asked, "What kind of place is this?" He placed the leaf in his mouth and chewed it, then immediately spat it out. After he chewed on it, the sap within the leaf was extremely hot, burning his tongue. "Didn't you see it now? All of the plants here grew because of the magical fire, and it's said that all of the plants here were made out of fire." Yue replied, "Of course, the beasts that grow up here are all fire attribute special G.O.D. beast and have some strength that is also very strong." Chen Xiang said, "I don't want to encounter these things. I'm not hungry at all right now." He only wanted to find a divine weapon quickly and reunite with his wife in Nine Heaven World. He missed Shui Xianxian and the others very much. Because he had been ambushed before in the evil mud pond, he became very energetic. He used the SPAC domain to hide himself in an independent SPAC which could prevent his chi from leaking out unless he was very sensitive to SPAC. After arriving at this forest, Chen Xiang was extremely hot. Even if he had used spatial isolation to test it out, the strange heat would have seeped in. Yue stuck out her tongue, sweating all over. "Warm up, what the hell is this fire? It could actually penetrate SPAC? If only Bingyan was here, she would have made me feel cool." Chen Xiang also knew how to use the icy cold power. It was just that he wasn't proficient in it, but it still made Yue and him feel much better. "Looks like Suzaku Divine Weapon must be hiding in this place," said with certainty. Suzaku Divine Weapon was of the fire attribute. He had previously seen this ancient Suzaku bow before. He had only used the Azure Dragon Divine Saber once, but its power was already extremely obvious. It was just that he had not merged with the Azure Dragon Divine Saber yet, so he had yet to unleash its stronger power. "Little Moon, haven't the Azure Dragon and the other 4G beasts existed for a long time? Back when Heavenly Divine Lord was refining these few types of divine weapons, the White Tiger and the rest of the people in Beast Divine Palace should not have been born yet, right?" Chen Xiang was a little doubtful. Heavenly Divine Lord and the others had already known about the existence of the Nine Shao Divine Nations a long time ago, and they must have refined those divine weapons even older than Beast Divine Palace. Yue said, "Of course not, the White Tiger and the Azure Dragon have already been through many generations, and in their generation, they should already be the 9th generation. I only know that there is a 3rd generation existence in our Star Law Divine Realm. The 4 divine beasts and the fire unicorn are all very famous in the Star Law Divine Realm. For example, the Azure Dragon will choose a dragon to inherit everything from him." "Did you inherit it when your lifespan ran out?" Chen Xiang asked. "If it was not so, who would be willing to give up all their inheritance?" "Yes, I believe that 9 divine kings revived them back then in order to stabilize 9 Heaven World. In the future, they will definitely help 9 divine kings and the others." Yue sighed with emotion. The potential of White Tiger and the rest is enormous, because the inheritances they received came from those beast emperors who were so powerful that only time could kill them. Furthermore, they have been around for generations. Yue continued, "There is a legend in our Star Law Divine Realm, that wherever White Tiger and the rest descend to, the world would become extremely prosperous and powerful. I heard from some of Star Law Divine Realm's old men that back then, Star Law Divine Realm was also extremely weak, and there were all sorts of internal strife." Chen Xiang climbed up a big tree and plucked a fruit. He placed the fruit juice out and it was even scarier than magma. He hurriedly threw it away because Yue was already hot to death. Chen Xiang jumped down and said, "White Tiger and the others are already part of the 9th generation inheritance? Then wouldn't the world that the previous 8 generations lived in become very powerful? Other than your Star Law Divine Realm, do you know of any other powerful world? In the future, the 9 Heaven World would annex this place, and then swallow the 9 GODS nation. That would mean that the overall strength of this place would be similar to the star law divine realms, as long as it was developed for a period of time. Serpa S. Sing the star law divine realm would not be a problem. Chen Xiang felt that as he walked slowly in the forest, he would be chatting with Yue. He had been in the forest for a long time already, but he did not encounter any other creatures. Is it a bird? It doesn't seem like it. It sounds like someone is speaking, but it's just that the voice is very soft. Based on his own judgment, Chen Xiang immediately walked towards the direction where the extremely soft sound came from. After going over, the voice was still transmitted, but Chen Xiang did not see anything. Just when he was curious about something, Yue said, "The voice came from the inside of the tree, there's something inside." Chen Xiang carefully looked at the surrounding tree trunks, and discovered that there were concealed scars on them, as though there was something inside the tree trunk that drilled its way through, and then lived inside. The trees here were the thickest, and would need a few people to hold it in their arms. Amongst the many ancient trees that Chen Xiang had encountered, this one was considered thin, but the people living inside seemed to be somewhat small. He came to a tree and pressed his ear against the trunk. Sure enough, he heard a very small sound coming from within. "Grandpa Chief, what should we do? Those fellows have always been staying here, and have already destroyed our sacred grounds, but we can't do anything about them. If this goes on, our sacred grounds will be destroyed." That's right, that's right. The Holy Land was taken away by them, and our eating has become a problem. If this goes on, our entire clan will be exterminated. Sai, we have no other choice. We have lived here for many years and have never encountered such a thing. How could we have known that a great human would suddenly appear in such a place and occupy our holy land for such a long time? This was a voice that sounded older than the others. After he finished speaking, he suddenly shouted, "Someone is outside!" When Chen Xiang heard this, whistles came from all directions. Suddenly, many finger-sized holes appeared on the trees around him, and many thorns flew out from the holes in the tree. When Chen Xiang heard this, whistles came from all directions. Suddenly, many finger-sized holes appeared on the trees around him, and many thorns flew out from the holes in the tree. When Chen Xiang was hit by the small thorns on the tree near him, he only felt a wave of heat attack him. The small thorns could release extremely strong heat waves, but when the thorns shot towards him and tried to pierce his body, they were actually blocked by the defensive barrier created by his body. The flying thorns were not aggressive at all in Chen Xiang's eyes, they were just like children's toys. It was just that the dozens of trees around him had countless holes in them, all released such that they looked like a dense rain, causing Chen Xiang to feel as if he was being attacked by scorching hot air. Of course, he wasn't hurt, he just felt very hot. There was a small person standing at the entrance of the tree. The small person had a pair of wings that were like petals on his back, and the clothes he wore were also made from petals, making him look very beautiful. Although the small person was small, it looked very cute, with long black hair that reached his waist, and a small face that was delicate and beautiful. Little Demoness? Chen Xiang remembered where he had seen this before. He quickly remembered that back then, when he opened those profound being in the profound cold ancient realm, he opened up a little demon girl like her. At that time, it was LV Qinlian's demon charming AAS association who found those profound being, so that little person also followed her. The last time he met LV Qinlian, he had asked that little demon about him. LV Qinlian told him that the little demon was sleeping, so he didn't see her. This great human knows the nickname our ancestors gave him. What should we do? The petal demoness let out a strange cry, and her voice was also very pleasant to listen to. I'm not a bad guy, I'm just pious. Sing bye. I've seen little guys like you in the same place before. Chen Xiang revealed a smile, showing that he did not have any hostility. Hearing his words, the little demoness immediately quieted down. The surrounding tree trunks also opened up a large hole. There were all kinds of villains, men, women, old, all kinds. However, these little people were all different. Some of them had flower petals, some had leaf wings, some had butterfly wings, some had dragonfly wings, and some had bird wings. Although they were all different, they all looked very harmonious and beautiful. Fei! Chen Xiang maintained a gentle smile on his face. This could let the other party relax his guard and give him a good impression. An old fairy flew out from the tree next to him. It should be that chief. He had a pair of light green maple leaf-shaped wings, and when he flew, the wings would emit traces of red flame. Where have you seen our people? We haven't used the name of fairy in a long time. Our name is Wisp now. The old elf said. I am in a place called Nine Heaven World. That world is a world of freshmen. This is a long story. You should be the clan leader of the elves race, right? My name is Chen Xiang. I came to this forest to search for something. I came here based on my senses, and then I met all of you. Chen Xiang said with a smile. A benevolent smile appeared on the old elf's small face. I am Ba Yi, the chief of the elven tribe. On behalf of the entire elven race, I welcome you here. Chen Xiang was a little shocked. This old elf had actually let his guard down so quickly, and believed his words so easily. It seemed to him likely that these elves had thrown away their holy land because they trusted people too much. The number of little fairies here was around a few thousand, which wasn't a small amount. Chen Xiang was sitting on the ground now, and the little fairies had gathered around him, chattering away about something. They were very curious about this unfamiliar human. We are actually of the Little Fairy clan, other than the Water Elves, Ice Elves, Wood Elves, Wind Elves and so on. We are the weakest and the smallest. In order to not be bullied, we always hide in places where humans and beasts rarely come to. They were indeed weak, and when the power of their entire clan was gathered together, it only made Chen Xiang sweat a little. The other little elves also had wings when they saw Yu-Er, so they all saw her as a little bit bigger than them. Yu-Er even joked about saying that she was a moon elf, and she quickly became one with these little things. For those little things, riding on Yu-Er's back was a very domineering thing. Clan leader Ba, what happened to your sacred ground? Why was it taken? Is the sacred ground very important to them? Chen Xiang asked. He felt that since he met with such a situation, he should save them and help these pitiful little things. Ba Yi leaned on a cane made from a small tree branch and said, The Holy Land is very important to us. It is a place that will support us for eternity. Of course, we can also build our own Holy Land, but once it's built well, it will be taken over by those bad people, and the two people we built will be taken over by them. Chen Xiang only knew that undead divine race could live forever, but this little fairy clan actually had this kind of heaven-defying ability. However, he let out a long sigh and said, If those bad guys don't leave soon, we will have to leave. This is something we are very unwilling to do, because it is very difficult for us to find such a good place. Yu-Er replied, Put them in the ring and bring them to Nine Heaven World. The dragon veins there should be suitable for them. It seems that they should be the same as Wood Elves, skilled in raising plants. Ba Yi nodded his head. Yes, although we are not as big as the Wood Elves nor as strong as them, we are not weaker than them in terms of growing flowers and plants. This was originally a barren wasteland, but after so many years of planting, it became a beautiful place. Chen Xiang's mouth twitched a little. The strange fire-type plants here were actually planted by them. They were truly powerful. In such a hot place, it was not suitable for plants to grow in the first place. But they still changed the characteristics of the plants, allowing them to heat up and absorb the heat here to grow. Chen Xiang tidied up the ring and had little Lightning, who was in the ring, play with these little things. He had already decided to bring the Little Fairy clan back to the Nine Heaven World. He immediately nodded his head because Chen Xiang had told them that he would help them move to a very safe place. It didn't matter to them if they had any trees or forests, as long as the important sacred grounds weren't occupied by them. As long as they could use the sacred grounds that they had created, flowers, plants and trees would grow out of the ground. After Chen Xiang and Ba Yi finished their discussion, they started to arrange for the little elves to enter into his dark jade ring. The space inside was very large. It was enough to accommodate the entire race of elves. After Chen Xiang and Ba Yi finished their discussion, they started to arrange for the little elves to enter into his dark jade ring. The space inside was very large. It was enough to accommodate the entire race of elves. Bei had already told him about the occupied Holy Land, and now he was heading towards the two occupied Holy Lands. According to what Ba Yi had said, the sacred land they were building was actually a very huge formation. This formation could absorb the energy of heaven and earth to maintain its operation, and this formation could transform all kinds of energy into an immortal power that could be absorbed by a fairy. This kind of power didn't have a good effect on humans. This was because the human body was completely different from Wisp's, because the human body needed a lot of energy to maintain itself, especially the bodies of the strong ones, which needed to absorb a lot more energy to maintain themselves. Chen Xiang was also very curious about the little fairy's sacred ground. He quickly arrived at the side of the sacred ground. Their sacred ground wasn't very big. In total, it was just a house. To humans, there were only a few sacred grounds. It was such a small place. With just a glance, one could tell that it was built later on by the humans that occupied the sacred land. They definitely knew the use of this sacred land, and their intention of occupying it was clear. It was to obtain longevity. Those little elves were so gullible. They must have leaked the secret of their own clan, which was why they were in trouble. The sacred ground Chen Xiang saw now was the most ancient one of the little fairy clan. They had only built another one after the sacred ground had been occupied. There were only a few people in the house, so they were not considered strong. From the qi they were releasing, Chen Xiang guessed that they were probably gods, who possessed 4 divine deity. When Chen Xiang created the double bone level, his strength was already comparable to the gods of the 4 divine deity, and could even be said to be much stronger than these gods. Where did these guys come from? Chen Xiang discovered that there were 5 people inside, all of them looking like middle-aged men. They were all cultivating in their own rooms, apparently absorbing the energy produced by the sacred grounds, which would cause living beings to live forever. Chen Xiang had learned from Ba Yi that they had been in this place for a long time, and that no one had ever come to this forest before. However, over 100 years ago, a group of people suddenly appeared and occupied their sacred ground. Afterwards, they no longer built it. Instead, they waited for these people to leave this place before they brought it back. Fortunately, these little elves all had their own life-saving abilities. If these people wanted to attack them, they could use their innate abilities to hide in any kind of plant. Because these elves had once told those people that once one of them died, the Holy Land would lose its effectiveness. Therefore, those people no longer dared to kill them because it was not easy to find a path to immortality. Chen Xiang snuck into one of the rooms, and the people inside were extremely relaxed. It seemed that it was because they had not encountered any dangers while staying here that made them not on guard, which showed that they had no experience. Chen Xiang secretly condensed 6 realms power and activated it. He wanted to use his mind to attack and directly attack his opponent's divine sense C. Everyone else is cultivating. You can start now. Yue confirmed the movements of the others. Chen Xiang used the invisible 6 divine powers, transformed the soul-absorbing devil spell into an extremely strong mental attack, and fiercely rushed towards the middle-aged man who was cultivating on the bed. At the same time, he released his ice-cold energy and froze the middle-aged man's head, preventing him from making any sound. The middle-aged man's body was still bound by the water vines Chen Xiang had released. After being attacked by Chen Xiang's mental attack, he struggled due to the intense pain. When Chen Xiang used his soul-absorbing devil spell to attack and devour the opponent's memories, he knew some things from their memories, which was the origins of this group of people. What he did not expect was that these people all came from the heavenly fire divine country. They were sent to guard it because there is a Suzaku divine weapon here. Chen Xiang told you everything he knew. Looks like divine nations already knew the location of these divine weapons. They probably already knew that divine weapons can release the 9 divine kings from the 9 heaven devil palace, so it would be best for you to quickly find the last divine weapons so that they won't find out and snatch them away. Yue replied, I find it rather strange. Since they have already discovered the divine weapon, why didn't they take it away and leave it here instead? Why don't you just send someone to guard it and take it away? Why bother? Chen Xiang said, because divine weapons are intelligent, they are not so easy to take away. Now, they have determined the location of the divine weapons, and they have to wait for an opportunity to take it away. In just a short moment, Chen Xiang used the same method as before to kill off all the people who were cultivating here. They occupied Little Fairy's sacred land, which was originally not a good thing, as if that heavenly fire divine country lackey, Chen Xiang, would naturally not show mercy. He quickly found the second sacred ground. It was a little bit small here, and there were a few middle-aged men, all of them were cultivating, greedily absorbing the power of immortality produced by the sacred grounds, but they, who were currently striving for immortality, were unknowingly killed on the path of immortality. If they did not occupy the sacred ground of the little elf, they might have been able to live for many more years. After exterminating all of these heavenly fire divine countries, Chen Xiang also harvested more than 20 divine deities, which could be used to refine medicinal pellet. This is the place, the Suzaku Bao is hidden here. Chen Xiang came to the bottom of a very large ancient tree in the forest. He pressed his palm on the tree trunk, then released the profound Wu clothing and took out the azure dragon divine saber. This was the only way he could make the Suzaku Bao appear by itself. Not long after, the tree trembled slightly. A raging fire suddenly erupted from a part of the tree trunk. A seemingly ordinary longbow fell out of the flames. Chen Xiang's heart moved. The Suzaku Bao that dropped to the ground immediately flew towards his hand. It had not merged with Chen Xiang yet, but it was actually very intelligent, which made Chen Xiang very happy. The Suzaku Bao looked no different from the ordinary longbows that the hunters made themselves. The only difference was that there were many spirit grains on top of the longbows. These spirit grains looked rather thick and messy, but upon closer inspection, there were many extremely small spirit grains inside every single one of them. Right now, he already had 3 ancient delay weapons in his hands. Through these 3 delay weapons, he immediately found out the exact location of the 4th delay weapon. Chen Xiang immediately left the forest filled with heat. As he was leaving, he told the clan leader of the Ba Yi clan that Ba Yi had greeted him earlier, and that Ba Yi and his clan members were currently bidding farewell inside the demon ring. This was a place that they had lived in for many years. Chen Xiang immediately left the forest filled with heat. As he was leaving, he told the clan leader of the Ba Yi clan that Ba Yi had greeted him earlier, and that Ba Yi and his clan members were currently bidding farewell inside the demon ring. This was a place that they had lived in for many years. Yue asked, "Is the last white tiger divine weapon far from here? If you take 2 divine weapons consecutively, Heavenly Fire Divine Country will definitely know about it. So, you had better hurry and go there, in case they set up an ambush." Chen Xiang had also thought about it, so the moment he left the forest, he used his fastest speed to rush to the place where the white tiger divine weapon was. In the eyes of that person, it is very far. However, in my eyes, it is very close. I might be able to arrive there in half a day. Chen Xiang clenched his teeth, madly using his 6 realms power to teleport to a far distance. This allowed him to reach the place faster. The red armored man from the heavenly fire divine country came to the heroes gathering divine city from the evil mud pond, but he did not immediately enter the supreme divine palace to ask Mu Chun. Instead, he first inquired about some information in the city. The consecutive days of information that he received made him extremely shocked, because what kind of shocking things had happened, they, the divine nations actually did not know about it, which was also reasonable, because all the experts that the divine nations had sent had died, leaving only the mysterious prince and his old follower unharmed. However, when the both of them returned to the divine nations, they did not openly announce this matter, which showed that the prince did not wish for Chen Xiang to be in too much trouble. The man investigated for a few days, and after confirming that it was absolutely true, he did not go to the supreme divine palace, but instead immediately returned to his own heavenly fire divine country. However, just as he returned, he met another person who was sent by the heavenly fire divine country. It was an old man. "Elderly, what made you do it yourself?" the red armored man asked, but he did not directly say anything about his investigation, because he could use the matter he discovered to please his master, and also to suppress his master's opponent. If Elderly already knew about this, then he would have to follow a new plan. The dozen or so trash that were in charge of taking care of the Suzaku Bao are dead. I have to go take a look. The Elderly looked anxious. The red armored man frowned. Oh, leave this matter to me. I just came down to deal with the matter of the Azure Dragon Divine Saber being taken away. Elderly, you definitely have something important to do right now, so leave this matter to me. Right now, I'm at the point of breakthrough. It's indeed very important, so I'll have to trouble you, Brother Hao. The expression on the old man's face eased up, and a smile appeared on his face. When I come out of closed-door cultivation, I will definitely thank Brother Hao. No need to be courteous. After Elderly breaks through and obtains more power, don't forget about this little brother. Hao Ren smiled faintly. Elderly immediately returned to the heavenly fire divine country, but Hao Ren instead smiled charmingly. Since the Suzaku Bao have already been taken away, then Chen Xiang will quickly go to the White Tiger divine weapon. As long as we capture Chen Xiang, I have made a huge contribution, to the point where this old donkey actually gave me such a good thing. Hao Ren didn't know about these things because he knew that the Elderly had been in closed-door cultivation for a long time and that there was no news about it. Chen Xiang had already reached the place where the White Tiger divine weapon was hidden. This place was a very ordinary rock mountain CLU. The only strange thing was that the rock mountains here were mostly the same, or like the twins, they were all 2 rock mountains that seemed to have the same shape and size. Chen Xiang just found it interesting. After looking at the group of rocks, he went straight to the hiding place of the White Tiger divine weapon, which was inside a stone mountain. This mountain is very ordinary, but it is one of a kind. Along the way, there were many similar stone mountains except for this one. He circled around this 3,000 zhang tall mountain and found a cave halfway up the mountain. He immediately flew up and entered the cave. After he entered, he felt a very strange gust of wind blowing on his body, causing his body to feel hot and cold at the same time. These 2 feelings appeared at the same time, making him feel very scary, because his body wasn't someone that could be breached by this kind of wind, causing him to feel cold and hot at the same time, so he was sure that there was definitely someone very powerful inside this cave. Come in. If I wanted to kill you, I would have died the moment you stepped into this sky spill star formation. He was extremely familiar with that voice, but he was sure that it was not the person he was familiar with. In order to see this person's appearance, Chen Xiang walked in. When he saw an elder sitting cross-legged on a table, he was completely stunned. This person's appearance was exactly the same as the one he knew. How is that possible? The person that Chen Xiang saw had the exact same face as Huang Jintian. He was very sure that this was not Huang Jintian, but Huang Jintian's master. This old man just said that there was a sky spill star formation here. It was obvious that he also knew about the heaven extended method. The so-called sky spill star formation should be the mountain range here. Are you looking for White Tiger divine weapon? The old man took out a plate, on top of which was a pair of black gloves. When Chen Xiang had collected the 4 pieces that Jiang Sheng had refined as a 4 symbols divine weapons, he had seen the illusion of an ancient white tiger divine weapon. Chen Xiang nodded his head. Although this old man who had the exact same appearance as Huang Jintian looked very strict, when Chen Xiang saw the look in his eyes, he felt that the other party did not have any ill intentions. It could also be because the other party had the same appearance as his master, so he felt that the old man in front of him was extremely kind. "You've found the other 3?" the old man asked again. He also noticed that Chen Xiang was surprised when he saw him, but even if she was surprised, her reaction was not. Chen Xiang nodded again. The old man said, "If you can put it on, you can take it." Chen Xiang walked over and easily wrapped this pair of gloves that looked like it was made of black cloth around his hand. "Have you seen me before?" The old man was somewhat curious about this, because Chen Xiang wasn't really that cautious towards him, and when he looked at him, it was as if he was looking at an old acquaintance. "My master looks exactly the same as you, and also, he understands heaven extended method." Chen Xiang said he was also very curious about this. After the old man heard, he was stunned for a while, as though he was shocked by this matter. Chen Xiang could see a trace of joy and excitement in his eyes. "What's his name?" the old man asked. "Huang Jintian." Chen Xiang immediately replied. "I am Huang Yantian, his brother. Where is he now?" The old man's words made Chen Xiang unable to react for a while. "He went to the Star Law Divine Realm. I don't know when he'll be back." Chen Xiang felt that the old man had given him the name Huang Yantian. As for whether or not he was Huang Jintian's brother, Chen Xiang could not be sure, so he had to find Huang Jintian to confirm. This old man was also very strong. Although Chen Xiang could not confirm that he was Huang Jintian's brother, he was sure that this old man was related to Huang Jintian, because this old man also knew heaven extended method. Otherwise, he would not have been able to set up the sky spill star formation. This old man was also very strong. Although Chen Xiang could not confirm that he was Huang Jintian's brother, he was sure that this old man was related to Huang Jintian, because this old man also knew heaven extended method. Otherwise, he would not have been able to set up the sky spill star formation. "He actually went to the Star Law Divine Realm, looks like he has already said through that calamity, and has only just said through it. What a useless fellow, since he is so useless, he still wants to return to the Star Law Divine Realm, isn't he courting death?" Huang Yantian frowned and said angrily, looking like he was worrying about his useless brother. "Why can't Master go back? He's been back for a long time, nothing will happen to him, right?" Hearing Huang Yantian's words, Chen Xiang was a little worried about his master. Although his master was from the undead divine race, he was going there. Huang Yantian looked at Yue, who was peeking her head out from Chen Xiang's bag, and immediately saw through a lot of things. This kitten should be from the Star Law Divine Realm as well. She should be one of the God tribes. You can ask her why your master, this idiot, can't go back. Chen Xiang looked at Yue, and Yue meowed, shaking her head. "I really don't know, I have left Star Law Divine Realm for a very long time." Huang Yantian was a little surprised. "Are you really the law enforcer? But with your current strength, you don't look like one." "I'm in a weakened state right now." Yue retracted her head. She was a little afraid of Huang Yantian's gaze, and felt that she didn't have any desire to be in front of him. Huang Yantian said, "Star Law Divine Realm has many old fellows who have lived their entire lives. Little cat, you should know about this, right?" Yue stuck her head out again. "I know this, but my strength has reached the peak of what it can't break through. After staying at this peak for a long time, my body and divine soul will be in a state that will soon dissipate, which is my lifespan." Huang Yantian nodded his head. That's right, once they reach this state, they would pursue longevity without a care for anything else, and most would choose to search for longevity. But this is also an illusory matter, and most would die of old age on the road. This is impossible. There are very strict rules and restrictions in the star law divine realm, even if it's just. Yu didn't continue speaking after she said this. Huang Yantian laughed coldly. The rules of the star law divine realm, if there are 10 odd fellows who are about to die of old age, then we can still use the rules to kill them, but 100, 1,000, the authority of the rules of the star law divine realm, are in the hands of those people who are about to step into death. They can't endure this kind of temptation. If not, I wouldn't have been forced to come to this kind of place. You might have arrived earlier, so you don't know the situation inside the star law divine realm. Yu was silent for a moment, then said, "After some time, I have enough power. I will use the secret technique of our star-moon divine race, and use the stars to communicate, and at that time I will know some things. I have already been away from the star law divine realm for many years, and it has indeed been a long time since I have any news from the star law divine realm." She was a law enforcer herself, and spent all her time outside. Furthermore, she was used as a sacrifice by the samsara sacrifice, so her understanding of the star law divine realm was something that happened many years ago. I can tell you now, undead divine race was exterminated, because they could devour our blood and live a long life. Originally, the rules did not allow it, but because there was an old fellow who had nowhere to go, he took the undead divine race for a try, and eventually recovered his vitality. Hence, all the old fellows in Star Law Divine Realm sealed off the news, and used the excuse that undead divine race had violated the rules of Star Law Divine Realm to kill all our clansmen. Huang Yantian clenched his fists furiously. Our undead divine race has very few people, and we are facing those strong experts with their strong numbers. We are not their match. Although the undead divine race did not die, that did not mean that they were very strong. Yu felt that it was unbelievable, because this was not the Star Law Divine Realm that she knew. She was also very worried about the undead divine race, because there was a portion of the undead divine race's blood in her body that came from her grandmother. And now that the undead divine race had been exterminated, she was very worried about how her grandmother was right now. You'd better not go back too. Who knows, it might even be your star-moon divine race's turn one day. When I escaped from the Star Law Divine Realm back then, the cat race would have already started evacuating from it. Huang Yantian said. For example, Star-Moon Divine Race was born with the ability to absorb the power of the stars and moon. This kind of talent was always admired and envied by people, which was why Huang Yantian said this. Cat race. The entire clan has moved. Yu was shocked again. Do you know where the cat race has been migrating to? Huang Yantian said as his brows knitted. I think you just said that you are from the Star-Moon Divine Race. Why do you care about the cat race? Yu nodded her head. My mother is from cat race, my father is from Star-Moon Divine Race. Huang Yantian paced back and forth a few steps, and said, Although there is no conflict between cat race and ourselves, there have been very few interactions between us in the past few years. Cat race and Star-Moon Divine Race do not have many marriages, but I actually know of a pair. Furthermore, this couple is very famous. Could it be? Thinking back to all these, Huang Yantian looked at Yu in shock. Yu meowed. The daughter of the demon star of the Star-Moon Divine Race and the princess of the cat race. As far as I know, the mother of the demon star is an elder of my undead divine race, so she should be your grandmother. This Huang Yantian had a very good memory. She immediately thought of many things. Yu nodded slightly. Do you know how my grandmother is doing right now? I'm very worried about her. She treats me so well. Huang Yantian shook her head. She was the first to know that we had been targeted, but it was a little late. At that time, she and a group of elders were responsible for defending against the people who had come to kill us, but in the end, only a few of us from the undead divine race managed to escape. Yuer's expression was somewhat gloomy. Then what about cat race? Where did they move to? Do you have any news about my parents? Huang Yantian had been here for a very long time, and the information he received was from many years ago. However, to Yuer, this information was still very precious. Huang Yantian pondered for a moment, then shook his head. There isn't much news. If you were to look for the cat race with your ability, you should be able to find it. As for your father, it's hard to say. You should know your father's personality very well. His mother was attacked and his whereabouts unknown, so you should know better than me what he would do. I suspect that he went with your grandfather. Huang Yantian pondered for a moment, then shook his head. There isn't much news. If you were to look for the cat race with your ability, you should be able to find it. As for your father, it's hard to say. You should know your father's personality very well. His mother was attacked and his whereabouts unknown, so you should know better than me what he would do. I suspect that he went with your grandfather. Only now did Chen Xiang know that Yuer's entire family was extremely terrifying. Her father was a devil, her mother was a princess of the cat race, and her grandfather and grandmother were emperors and emperors of the cat race. Her grandmother was an elder of the undead divine race, so her grandfather definitely had a high position in the star-moon divine race. Yuer let out a soft meow, and returned back into her backpack. Understood her worry very well, but he was powerless to help her. Someone has entered my sky spill star formation, Huang Yantian suddenly said, and then he walked to the cave entrance and looked ahead. This person might be here to track me down, because the two divine weapons I took previously had already alerted them. Now that there's someone here, it's very likely that he's here to ambush me. Chen Xiang said, It's just that this guy came a step too late. Huang Yantian asked, Is this person from Heavenly Fire Divine Country? Senior, how did you know? Chen Xiang was somewhat suspicious of this. A while ago, there were about 10 people here who were sent by the Heavenly Fire Divine Country, but I caught all of them, so they are still alive. Huang Yantian laughed sinisterly. If I knew earlier, I would have killed them all. This way, I could have attracted even stronger people to accompany me to relieve my boredom. Chen Xiang was curious as to why Huang Yantian was here as well, and asked, Senior, are you and 9 Divine Kings friends? Are you helping them guard the divine soldiers here? Yes, I promised them that I would help them take care of a divine weapon. They said that if someone came to find this divine weapon, it would be when they had just arrived in this world. I am very confident in these 9 guys. From the time that Star Law Divine Realm left, Huang Yantian could deduce that when 9 Divine Kings was forced into a corner by the Divine Nations, they had indeed arrived here even later than Huang Jintian. And Yuer had arrived even earlier than Huang Jintian. He was here to capture Chen Xiang, and to capture Chen Xiang was equivalent to making a huge contribution to him. He would receive many rewards, and when he thought of this, he became extremely excited. When he entered the sky spill star formation, the things he saw were different from what you saw. There was an illusory magic array here, so he now has a beautiful scenery, but the ones in front of him are these meteors. Huang Yantian smiled slightly. This guy hasn't noticed it yet, and he's walking towards me right now. Senior, is this person powerful? Can you beat him? Chen Xiang asked. Not bad, but in my eyes, he's just a small shrimp. Huang Yantian said in disdain. I can kill him at any moment. After all, I've used many years to set up this heaven's divination star formation. Huang Yantian relied on the current sky spill star formation to be extremely strong, let alone the power he had hidden. Chen Xiang smiled and asked, Then senior, between you and my master, which one is stronger? Huang Yantian chuckled. Of course I'm strong, that guy is completely no match for me. Although I'm a twin, his strength is far too weak. This kind of smelly personality was the same. Chen Xiang laughed in his heart. He's here. Look at his stupid look in the illusion world. Huang Yantian laughed. Chen Xiang saw a man dressed in red armor walk over, then crouch down, as if he was drinking water from a small stream. Huang Yantian said, "This guy is not bad. Look at how alert he is much stronger than the last 10 trash." As he said that, Huang Yantian took out a disc, which seemed to be the thing that controlled the heavens' divination star formation. He drew on it with his finger, and saw how Ren's body suddenly tremble, as if he was frightened by something. "I'll remove the illusion array. Let him see what the real world around him looks like." Huang Yantian chuckled. When Hao Ren came in, the place was filled with greenery, but in the blink of an eye, it had already turned into this. How could he not be shocked? Huang Yantian flew out. The vigilant Hao Ren knew that he was trapped inside a strong array, and when he saw someone appear, he immediately fled. However, he was trapped by a net released by Huang Yantian on the ground, and could no longer move. At this time, Chen Xiang also flew over. When Hao Ren saw Chen Xiang, he shouted, "Chen Xiang! You know me." Chen Xiang smiled slightly. "Looks like I'm quite famous in the divine nations. I am from Heavenly Fire Divine Country, and I knew that someone was coming here to ambush you, so I came here to inform you in advance. I admire what you did outside of Heroes Gathering Divine City, and I really don't want you to fall into my hand." An idea came to Hao Ren's mind as he looked at Chen Xiang respectfully. Huang Yantian laughed. "You're boasting like you're going to be struck by lightning. Are you sure what you said was true?" "It's absolutely true. I have admired Brother Shen for a long time, and after his achievements were spread throughout our divine nations, the younger generation all admired him," Hao Ren said with a sincere expression. He did not know who this old fellow was, and he was so powerful at that. In an instant, he had used a treasure to control, and there was also the terrifying formation technique that was not set up just a short while ago. It should have been there for a long time. You are lying. I have already read through your memories." Huang Yantian laughed. "Brat, you're so dishonest, to actually have a belly full of evil tricks." I. Hao Ren was speechless and his expression darkened as he shouted, "Then, all of you will accompany me to die." Just as he finished shouting, Chen Xiang felt himself being grabbed. After his vision went dark, he heard a loud sound, and then he realized that he was floating in the air and standing on a frisbee. The sky spill star formation, which was formed from countless stone mountains below, was shrouded in rolling dust, and a deep ravine appeared on the ground that was trembling intensely. Yu Er said with a lingering fear, "That was a close call. If we were a bit slower, we might have gotten into trouble." Huang Yantian scolded him, "This D.A.M. Ned Brat, he actually destroyed my sky spill star formation. If I knew earlier, I wouldn't have let you walk into the center of the formation." "What happened?" Chen Xiang still could not understand what was going on. "That B.A.S.T.A.R.D. used a secret technique to explode on his own. This kind of explosion technique is extremely terrifying, exploding all of the divine deity and divine soul in his body together with the divine power of a divine sense C. This is completely not a plan of reincarnation, so the power after self-detonation is extremely terrifying." Huang Yantian was very angry. "It's all my fault, I was too careless. Even so, I still have things to take care of. This guy's memories are about the Heavenly Fire Divine Country, and the inside of the Heavenly Fire Divine Country is currently in a mess. It's clear that it's caused by the Divine Lord's succession. I'm going to take a look around the Heavenly Fire Divine Country." Chen Xiang said, "Senior, can you send me back to the 9-Heaven world? Since the 9-Heaven world has already been swallowed, it should be very easy for me to send him back. My master can do it. I'm in a hurry to release the 9 Divine Kings." Saving 9 divine kings was the promise he made at the beginning, and this was also to give Feng Yujie and Jiu Hanru an explanation. Chen Xiang did not know if he could summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace here. Even if he could, he did not plan to do so here. Since he was too close to the 9 Gods nation, it would be safer to return to the 9 Heaven world. Chen Xiang did not know if he could summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace here. Even if he could, he did not plan to do so here. Since he was too close to the 9 Gods nation, it would be safer to return to the 9 Heaven world. He was worried that Huang Yantian would not send him back, so he specifically emphasized that Huang Jintian could do it. Of course not, it's a piece of cake. Are you going back now? If you go back now, you might not be able to come to this place so easily in the future, unless you reach a certain cultivation level by yourself, said as he and Chen Xiang floated in the air. At this time, he was already condensed with an extremely strong burst of spatial energy, as if he wanted to open a spatial door. Chen Xiang nodded his head. When he returned this time, he did not plan on coming back, because it would not be long before the 9 Heaven world could devour this place. Huang Yantian used his own strength to open up a spatial tunnel. To Chen Xiang's surprise, the moment he turned his head around, Huang Yantian had actually changed into the self-detonating Hao Ren. This guy's name is Hao Ren. I will pretend to be him and go to Heavenly Fire Divine Country to take a look and get to know more. When 9 Divine Kings comes out in the future, the information I gathered will probably be useful to them. Huang Yantian laughed. This method of turning into someone else, of infiltrating the enemy, was something Chen Xiang used frequently. Chen Xiang had this kind of trick, which was also developed under Huang Jintian's tutelage. This Huang Yantian was also full of schemes. This was indeed very similar to Huang Jintian. Chen Xiang laughed. Goodbye. Let's go. Huang Yantian smiled and nodded, then jumped into the spatial tunnel. After the spatial tunnel closed, Huang Yantian flew up into the sky. The 9 Gods nation was hidden in the depths of the starry sky, and there were also many concealing formations around, causing them to be able to hide themselves well. Before this, Huang Yantian did not even know where these divine nations were. And this time, Huang Yantian met Hao Ren, obtained Hao Ren's memories, and also found out how to get to the Heavenly Fire Divine Country, as well as a large amount of information about the Heavenly Fire Divine Country. After Chen Xiang entered the spatial Pa's sageway, he appeared in a sea. What is this place? Chen Xiang looked around and felt the divine spirit qi. He discovered that it was actually similar to the Super God realm. There was no difference. It made him feel like he was in the Super God realm. This is the 9 Heaven world. The previous Gods realm did not have such high-quality energy. It had only been a short while, and it had already risen to this level. How exactly did the 9 divine kings manage to create that 9 Heaven world? Yu was extremely surprised at this. She was more familiar with these things, but she didn't know what method the 9 divine kings used to allow the 9 Heaven world to grow at such a high speed. Chen Xiang took out the guide array disc, but it was of no use, because the world now was no longer the world it used to be. I can only wander around randomly. He was surrounded by an endless sea. He chose a direction and quickly teleported away. After teleporting a few times, he stopped and said in surprise, "The resistance is actually this great when I teleport here. It's even stronger than when I teleported to the Super God realm." In other words, the furthest distance he could teleport was not in the Super God realm, meaning that this world was more stable than the Super God realm. Before long, he would be able to devour even further, and swallow all of the higher realms in the surroundings. Although the teleportation distance was reduced, Chen Xiang took half a day to reach the mainland. There were a lot more people in the 9 Heaven world than the Super God realm. Originally, the Nine Heaven World had many sects and powers, and then, the Gods realm had many shrines. When Chun Xiang arrived at the mainland, he very quickly saw someone. It was a small team, and looked like they were going to hunt sea beasts. All of them were big men. They usually drank wine and walked on the road while laughing. Chun Xiang walked over, cupped his hands, and asked, "My friends, how do I get to the nearest city? I got into some trouble at sea and was washed over. There's a city called Lan Hai over there. There are a lot of transmission arrays." A large man pointed in a direction. Chun Xiang cupped his hands and grat. 1, 2, then quickly ran over. Although the time he took to go to Super D realm wasn't long, it was different from the time he spent there. Maybe many years had already passed, since he went there. Moreover, after experiencing so many things here, the villains of the divine prison came out. The annexation of the Nine Heaven World caused a great change to the structure of the world here. From Jiangxing, Chun Xiang found out that the strongest people in the Nine Heaven World were the Nine Heaven School, which was organized by Yun Xiaodao and the others. When they joined the Nine Heaven World later on, they became old friends who had very good relations with Chun Xiang. Furthermore, the power that LV Qilian had secretly developed was formed of women, so they occupied one of the dragon veins. As for how it had developed, Jiang Xing did not know, but it would not be too bad. Chun Xiang arrived at Lan Hai City. The city walls were very new, and the buildings inside could easily tell that they had just been constructed not long ago. This city was still very young, but it was still so prosperous. When Chun Xiang arrived at the transmitting square where the transmission array was, he quickly saw the words, Nine Heaven City. Furthermore, a lot of people were going to go to the Nine Heaven City from here, and the 5 transmission arrays were already filled with people. This world had begun using Shen Yuan Stone S, and no one knew who had guided them. Many profound Gods knew how to use mysterious power to form Shen Yuan Stone S. Being able to use Shen Yuan Stone meant that there had to be a long period of precipitation before a large amount of Shen Yuan Stone could circulate. Chun Xiang felt that this place had at least been here for a few hundred years. The Nine Heaven City must have controlled the hands of Yun Xiaodao and the others, and it was such a powerful city. To be able to stabilize the city meant that Yun Xiaodao and the others were already extremely powerful, so no one dared to provoke them. Chun Xiang queued for less than an hour before it was finally his turn to enter the transmission array. Every transmission array could only teleport 300 people at a time, and required 1,000 Shen Yuan Stone. Very quickly, Chun Xiang was teleported to the Nine Heaven City, which was already a very large place. As Chun Xiang walked out of the transmission array, he looked at the vast transmitting square that was so large that he could not even see his head, and was unable to help himself from becoming fearful. At this moment, a group of people came out from the many transmission arrays, and many left as well. A transmitting square of this scale was just like an extremely powerful empire. It seemed as if it would become a very powerful divine nations. Chun Xiang left the transmitting square, and walked on a very wide street. In front of him was a 10-story bluestone building, which was the City Lord's mansion. This City Lord's mansion was extremely close to the transmission array, so the moment he came out, he could immediately go there. Chun Xiang left the transmitting square, and walked on a very wide street. In front of him was a 10-story bluestone building, which was the City Lord's mansion. This City Lord's mansion was extremely close to the transmission array, so the moment he came out, he could immediately go there. There were also a lot of people going in and out of City Lord's mansion, probably because they were here to do some work. This city was very big, with many shops to rent, and also some things that could only be settled through City Lord's mansion. Therefore, City Lord's mansion was very lively. Nine Heaven School's leader is Gu Dongchen. If my guess is not wrong, this Nine Heaven City must be the little bald Wu Kaming. Chun Xiang looked at the big doors of the City Lord's mansion and walked in. After entering, Chen Xiang found a beautiful woman in charge of receiving guests. After asking around, he found out that the city lord was indeed Wu Keiming. Then he said that he wanted to look for Wu Keiming. There were many people who were told to look for Wu Keiming, and that he would need to wait for a period of time. Chen Xiang felt that he could wait, but the lady had calculated and told him that he would need to wait about 10 days before he could see Wu Keiming. It was said that Wu Keiming would normally only appear for more than an hour a day to meet people who had important matters to attend to. Chen Xiang activated Heaven Tour method. He wanted to immediately find Wu Keiming and send a sound transmission to him, but he discovered that there was a formation that was preventing him from using his divine soul. It was obvious that Wu Keiming and the others knew about this method, which was why they set up this array formation to prevent it. Chen Xiang guessed that the majority of the array formations here were created by Lu Menger and the other girls, who were mainly refining and laying the array. However, the hall was a little noisy, so it suddenly quieted down. At the same time, a fragrance floated over. Chen Xiang felt that this fragrance was very familiar, as he, who had his head lowered in thought, raised his head to look, and saw Blee and beautiful woman wearing a purple dress walking in from the outside. This woman had a graceful gait. As she walked into the great hall, her jade-like face revealed a faint smile. It was a greeting to the crowd. This smile filled the hearts of many of the men present with admiration. What a beautiful woman! Yan Xilan. Chen Xiang was secretly happy. He was just thinking of a way to see Wu Keiming, but he felt that if he met Yan Xilan, it didn't matter if he saw or not, since if Wu Keiming knew, he would have the urge to vomit blood. Sister Xilan, you're so beautiful. Chen Xiang sent a sound transmission to Yan Xilan, and he had disguised himself a little. Furthermore, his concealment ability was so strong, so of course Yan Xilan couldn't resist him. As Yan Xilan was walking through a side door in the main hall, she suddenly heard Chen Xiang's sound transmission, and couldn't help but stop in her tracks. Her delicate body trembled. Her heart had long been taken away by Chen Xiang, and the relations Hi+P between the two of them were extremely good. The last time Yan Xilan was injured, the furious Chen Xiang killed the Flower Emperor couple to take revenge for her. Furthermore, the two of them had met each other before. And brat, hurry up and come over. Yan Xilan sent a sound transmission to him. Many people thought that Chen Xiang was courting death, to actually be so close to Yan Xilan. Yan Xilan's fame was also very famous in the city, and people who had ulterior motives towards her would not even have a good ending. But Yan Xilan didn't say much. He only rolled his eyes at Chen Xiang and then pulled his hand and dragged him inside the door. The people in the great hall were all stunned. The usually Blee and dignified Yan Xilan looked like she was in a rush to drag a man in. Inside the door was a pious sage. After Yan Xilan dragged Chen Xiang in, his other hand had already placed it behind her waist, hugging her tightly so that her fragrant body would close in. Sister Xilan, long time no see. You're really getting more and more beautiful. Chen Xiang laughed sinisterly. Yan Xilan wanted to struggle free from Chen Xiang's evil hand that was hugging her waist, but his hand was surprisingly strong. It's been so long since we've seen each other, yet you've become even worse. Every time we meet, you've been bad to me. Let go of elder sister. It's not good to be seen by others. Yan Xilan pouted. Her jade face was already slightly red. It was not the first time she was being teased by Chen Xiang. It's because you're getting more and more tempting that I'm getting worse. Chen Xiang giggled, then gently caressed Yan Xilan's beautiful and charming face. He looked at Yan Xilan with deep emotion and his expression became serious. Sister Xilan, I really miss you. You have been doing very well all these years, and I am also very happy now. I'm afraid you can't get through that. Yan Xilan could not take Chen Xiang's burning gaze any longer. She bowed her head and spat. I'm very happy that you're back now. After she finished speaking, she raised her head. At this time, Chen Xiang had also changed back to that handsome and mature face. She reached out her hand and gently caressed it, looking at Chen Xiang with a misty gaze. Unknowingly, their lips had already touched. They could not help but kiss and hold each other tightly. The emotions that they had accu mulat over many years burst out at this moment. It seemed like a long time had said, as a dry cough woke Chen Xiang and Yen Xilan, who had fallen in love from the ecstasy of kissing. You should pay attention to the situation. The one who coughed dryly was a handsome man with HI plus Ning skull. It was precisely Wu Keiming. After realizing that he was seen by Wu Keiming, Yen Xilan's 2 cheeks immediately turned red. She bit her lower lip and hung her head, then fiercely stepped on Chen Xiang. Without saying a word, Chen Xiang smacked Wu Keiming's head. "Can't you pretend not to see? Do you really want to disturb us? Young senior uncle. Zilan, she has urgent matters to attend to. It must be because she ran into you that she…" Cough, cough. Wu Keiming did not continue. "Let's go to my place to talk business." Yen Xilan thought about the important matter, and could not help but pout. "Little scoundrel, it's all because of you, causing me to forget." "What important thing?" Chen Xiang asked. Wu Keiming didn't say anything. Instead, he brought him and Yen Xilan into a study that was not very decorated. After arriving at this study room, Yen Xilan took out a small jade box and said, "This is the bone-level Dan, Pas. It to sect leader Gu." Wu Keiming nodded. Now, Chen Xiang could tell that Yen Xilan was with LV Qilian and the others, and was specifically responsible for the pill business. Wu Keiming said, "Junior Master, how much strength do you have now? How many divine deity are there?" Yen Xilan was also very curious about this matter, because when Chen Xiang had left the 9-heaven world for the Gods realm, it had been many years since they had seen each other. Right now, with only 2 divine deity and 3 divine soul, I will be able to condense the 3rd divine deity very soon. At that time I will be considered a God, Chen Xiang said. Although Feng Yujie had returned, he did not say too much about Chen Xiang, so they did not know. Although Feng Yujie had returned, he did not say too much about Chen Xiang, so they did not know. Right now, when Yen Xilan and Wu Keiming found out about Chen Xiang's cultivation level, they were a little surprised, because they thought that Chen Xiang would at least have a cultivation level around the 5th divine deity. "How long has Sister Feng been back?" Chen Xiang asked. "Around 50 years. Yen Xilan said. Chen Xiang was startled. "I've only separated from her for a few days. The time here is different from the time on stage." Wu Keiming nodded. "No wonder, but it doesn't matter. With your talent, you'll soon be able to cultivate it." Yen Xilan said, "The important thing we are talking about is to have the other party be from the evil door of Hel, which is the power that the Hel Devil Emperor established here. They have been developing in secret all this while, and after a while, the 9-heaven world will devour the Super God realm, so before that time, they want to come here and fight for more resources and good areas. Right now we have already secretly joined forces with a few other forces, preparing to deal with the Hel's Gate together. When the time comes, not only will the Hel's Gate be the ones to counterattack, but the other ancient powers that have joined forces with the Hel's Gate will also be there. Yu and Ziqian have already gone to find out more news." Chen Xiang frowned. Hel Devil Emperor is a guy with the power of the divine nations behind his back, then the highest old devil will support him from behind. Yen Xilan shook his head. "That is the past. Back then, highest old devil only used Hel Devil Emperor to obtain the 6 realms mirrors. But now that the 6 realms mirrors are already in your hands, highest old devil will naturally not invest much in it." The background of the highest old devil was very complicated, and right now the highest old devil was definitely involved in the dispute over the throne as well. Everyone with some strength in the 9GODS nation was considering carefully if they were to take the wrong spot, the consequences would be dire. Wu Kaming said, "These bone-level Dan, we have prepared them to attract other forces. The divine pellet that Feng Yujie has brought back, we will not sell, it will only be used as a reward within the clan. At the same time, we will spread the news." "When will they attack?" Chen Xiang asked. He also wanted to move his bones. "We're still trying to find out more information. Duan Sanchong and XV Weilong are in charge of handling our people. We should have information soon." Wu Kaming said, "If you want to go, it might be a little dangerous. L Devil Emperor's evil techniques have allowed them to improve by leaps and bounds, and their entire underworld evil sex strength is extremely powerful. This is what we know." Qin Xiang asked, "Then what about the 9 Heaven Devil Palace? I summoned it before, but it's still in that place?" "It's gone, it disappeared. You want to summon it out?" Wu Kaming was shocked. He and Yen Xilan were a little frightened, even though they were stronger than the G.O.D. of heaven, but they were still terrified of the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. They didn't know the secret inside the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, and the reason Chen Xiang came back this time was to save the 9 Divine Kings. "That's right, I want to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, and this will be the last time he will show up." Chen Xiang smiled slightly. "Don't worry, you will know when the time comes. As long as I succeed in swallowing the Super G.O.D. realm one after another, we will be safe for a period of time." When Feng Yujie returned, the news that he brought back was something that Wu Kaming and the others all knew. It was from those divine nations that had threatened them. "All right, but you should summon them from a less populated area. It would be best if you go to those dangerous areas. For example, the Night Devil Hell. That place is currently a Night Devil, so it's very suitable for summoning a 9 Heaven Devil Palace." Wu Kaming laughed sinisterly. Chen Xiang also smiled, then said to Yen Xilan, "Big Sis Zilan, take me to Big Sis Qilian. For the time being, don't tell Xianxian that I'm back, because I still have to make a trip to 9 Heaven Devil Palace." Yen Xilan sighed lightly. She also knew that after she became Chen Xiang's woman, she would also gradually get used to worrying about days like Shui Xianxian and the others. "You didn't see your senior brother or the others. Xiao Dao and Zhu Rong are here," Wu Kaming said. "For the time being, I won't be here. My cultivation is currently too low. If they were to find out, I would definitely be despised." Chen Xiang chuckled. "Don't tell them that I'm back, and even more so, don't tell them that I want to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. If they knew that the 9 Heaven Devil Palace had appeared, don't say that I was the one who summoned them. Regarding this matter, we must keep it a secret, but you can tell a lad or the devil-killing Heavenly G.O.D. and the other elders." Yen Xilan brought Chen Xiang and walked from the back, and at the moment, they were sitting inside a carriage. This carriage did not have any horses or beasts to drag them, it relied on array formations to walk, and there were many such caravans here. "This thing is so comfortable." Chen Xiang laid on the soft animal skin on in the carriage and hugged his knees as he sat beside him barefooted. "This was made by Menger and the others." Yen Xilan smiled. "Now they are powerful, able to refine many powerful delay weapons, and even developed a specialized refining small group." Chen Xiang brought her over and let her lie on his body. Then, he gently supported her beautiful, jade-like face and smiled. "How is the establishment of Qilian's empire progressing?" Yen Xilan felt that Chen Xiang's hands were dishonest, and snorted lightly. Her jade-like hands pinched the flesh on Chen Xiang's chest with great force, and said, "She has already absorbed Divine Female Palace. All the girls in Divine Female Palace are grateful to you for exposing that hall master." "Ah, Divine Female Palace. They're all a bunch of pretty girls." Chen Xiang laughed mischievously. With a flip of her body, the delicate Yen Xilan was already below. She could not help but tenderly shout out. Under her control, the carriage entered the house at the side of transmitting square. There were internal staff members who used transmission arrays inside the carriage. Through this transmission array, the carriage was teleported away from Nine Heaven City. Little scoundrel, don't act recklessly. Yen Xilan used quite a bit of effort to push Chen Xiang away. We're almost there, it's bad that we were discovered. Chen Xiang opened his car window, and saw that it was a GRA's lands surrounded by mountains and not a city. He did not know where he was, but he felt that the spirit chi here was extremely dense. This is the second dragon vein. Our residence is right in front of us, Yen Xilan said. Chen Xiang was a little excited because his father was previously in this area. It was just that they had been separated for so long, he wondered if he was still here. Let Qilian come here, I won't go. Chen Xiang lightly pursed her lips. Just then, the door of the carriage was opened, and LV Qilian just stood there watching. She snorted lightly, then entered the carriage and closed the door. Yen Xilan bit her red lips as she lowered her head with a red face. She did not expect that when she was close with Chen Xiang, she would be met with another one, and one that LV Qilian had even met. LV Qilian and Chen Xiang had quite a few contradictions. Although they had reconciled in the end, Yen Xilan and the others didn't know that Chen Xiang and LV Qilian had already developed a relations. H.I+P in the end. Only Xue Xianxian, Lu Menger and the others knew about this matter. LV Qilian and Chen Xiang had quite a few contradictions. Although they had reconciled in the end, Yen Xilan and the others didn't know that Chen Xiang and LV Qilian had already developed a relations. H.I+P in the end. Only Xue Xianxian, Lu Menger and the others knew about this matter. Sister Qilian, how did you arrive so quickly? Although LV Qilian saw the intimate actions of Chen Xiang and Chen Xiang, he didn't feel anything. This made Yen Xilan curse inwardly, to think that his skin was actually this thick. Zilan sent me a message. She probably didn't tell you. Or you didn't even give her a chance. LV Qilian had already led a group of women to develop a very strong power, and had also recovered the kind of emperor's aura back in the days when she was in charge of the Hundreds of Flowers Palace. LV Qilian was also currently wearing a purple dress. The style was very similar to Yen Xilan's, but it gave off a completely different feeling. Yen Xilan gave people blee and gentle feeling, especially when matched with her gentle smile. It gave people a kind of elegant and sweet beauty. And when it was worn on LV Qilian's body, it gave off blee feeling, and it still carried a domineering aura, especially when she wasn't smiling. Just as Yen Xilan was thinking about how to explain the relations H.I+P between her and Chen Xiang, he didn't expect Chen Xiang to grab onto his hand. With a slight tug, LV Qilian leaned forward and fell into Chen Xiang's embrace. She didn't want Yen Xilan to see her delicate side in front of her beloved man, but for some reason, when she fell into Chen Xiang's embrace, she felt the warmth of Chen Xiang's body and felt Chen Xiang's aura, which could cause her heart to beat faster. That tensed and delicate body of hers had suddenly become soft. LV Qilian let out a light snort, then slightly raised his head and looked at Chen Xiang's handsome face that had a mischievous smile on it with gentleness. The surprised Yen Xilan reacted in an instant. She did not expect LV Qilian to be the one to do the same. She suddenly understood the strange look LV Qilian had when he was looking at her, because that look contained a tinge of jealousy. Looking at LV Qilian's gentle gaze, Chen Xiang couldn't help but hug her delicate body tightly, taking in her sandalwood mouth and kissing for a short while before parting. Yue had long guessed that Chen Xiang was a romantic person, but she didn't think that he would be so rampant. She, who was hiding in her backpack, let out a meow. Such a cute kitten. Is this the Yue that Bing Yen often talks about? Yen Xilan had been a little awkward just now, but when she saw Yue, she immediately brought him over. LV Qilian also reached out to touch Yue, then said, Zilan just said that you wanted to summon 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Do you want to tell Sister Feng and Wenro? Feng Yujie and Johanru were both very concerned about this matter, because they were both creations of the 9 Divine Kings, and now that Chen Xiang was going to save the 9 Divine Kings, it was a very important matter to the two sisters. Well, you tell them, but you must not let Xian and the others know. LV Qilian also understood that Chen Xiang didn't want them to worry about him. The last time Chen Xiang entered the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, they knew that he was worried for a long time. After a short while, Yen Xilan opened the door and only Johanra came. She said, Elder sister is not coming anymore. She said she wants me to go with you. Just now, LV Qilian had already told Johanru and Feng Yujie about it, which was why she said that. Just like Feng Yujie, she was also filled with the enchanting power that captivated the soul. When she looked at Chen Xiang just now, she had used her enchanting power a little, but she never expected that Chen Xiang could actually resist it. Chen Xiang giggled as he embraced LV Qilian and Yen Xilan. If that wasn't the case, it would be really difficult for him to resist. Both LV Qilian and Yen Xilan felt it was a little strange being hugged by the same man. They struggled for a bit, but after realizing that Chen Xiang was holding onto them tightly, they gave up. Let's go now. Johanru removed the white dress on her body, revealing a set of tightly fitting black clothes. Chen Xiang kissed Yen Xilan and LV Qilian's cheeks respectively, then walked out of the carriage and stood inside a transmission array. LV Qilian and Yen Xilan only looked at Chen Xiang with eyes full of concern before they left, and did not say much. They knew that Chen Xiang would definitely return safely. After Chen Xiang and Johanra left, Yen Xilan spoke out from inside the carriage. Sister Qilian, I really didn't think that your relations HI+P with this little scoundrel was so good. When did you two get along well? LV Qilian sighed softly. It's been a long time. There was nothing that she couldn't think of. Although she and Chen Xiang had a grudge before, Chen Xiang had helped her before. By the time they returned, they might already be. This little scoundrel is just like that. It's really able to handle Hanshue. Yen Xilan was a little shocked, because she knew that Johanru was already very strong, and he was even a creation of the 9 Divine Kings. Yu Jie has been taken care of by him, what do you think? After LV Qilian finished speaking, he controlled the carriage and walked towards the buildings that were not far away. Big Sis Feng, is she really? Yen Xilan and Feng Yujie also came into contact frequently, because Feng Yujie was a pill refiner. After refining the divine pellet, he would hand it over to her and their relations. HI+P would also be very good. Furthermore, Feng Yujie had stayed in the Divine Female Palace before, so she had a lot of prestige amongst the goddesses of the Divine Female Palace. The feeling she gave Yen Xilan was the same as LV Qilian. LV Qilian chuckled. She told me that, how could it be fake? But then again, after you were injured and I was involved with this matter, this brat really wanted to kill me. At that time, this was the first time I felt that he was that scary. You are very important to him. Tell me how you know him. I want to know. After Yen Xilan heard this, his heart warmed. He then started to narrate the matter of her first meeting Chen Xiang. At that time, because she was a spirit cultivator, Chen Xiang coincidentally did the same as well, and even Pa said down the information to her. Chen Xiang and Johanru used the transmission array to teleport to a seemingly deserted city. This city only had more than 10 transmission arrays. The teleportation time was decided by Johanru because she knew where was the most suitable place to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Johanru walked out of the city quickly with his veil and bamboo hat on. Along the way, Johanru didn't talk much. She only responded casually whenever Chen Xiang asked her a question, which made Chen Xiang feel as if she was angry. Little Jiujie, how about I use teleportation? It'll be faster this way. Chen Xiang grabbed her arm. Hanru turned his head and looked at him with that charming gaze again. Chen Xiang immediately scolded in his heart. He was doing serious work now, but this Hanru was actually tempting him from time to time, and it was the kind with all the firepower he could muster. Chen Xiang immediately scolded in his heart. He was doing serious work now, but this Hanru was actually tempting him from time to time, and it was the kind with all the firepower he could muster. On this desolate prairie, Hanru slowly took off the clothes she was wearing. Even though she had not completely taken them off, the temptation of having a few parts of her body covered was the most powerful. Little Jiujie, what are you doing? Chen Xiang took a deep breath. He was truly at a loss for words. Just what was going on with Hanru? Hanru snorted lightly, picked up the clothes and put it on, then said, "This guy is so greedy for beauties, I'm worried that you will be tempted after entering the Nine Heaven Devil Palace. You must know, the traps in the Nine Heaven Devil Palace have become completely different since the last time you summoned them. Those divine nations have already improved on those traps, and from what I know, they were done due to your weakness. And your weakness is your St for beauties. Big Sister said before, sometimes this is indeed your weakness, but sometimes your resistance is extremely strong, and when I tested it previously, because you were carrying Qilian and Zilan, all the desire for beauties in your heart was transferred to them. So that didn't count. I tested it again just now, and the result made me rather satisfied." Hanru patted Chen Xiang's shoulders. "Big Sis is right, your resistance in this area is indeed very strong." Chen Xiang exhaled. "You scared me to death. I thought you were angry at me, so you were testing me." Hanru nodded his head. "The reason why I wasn't talking to you before and was cold to you before was so that you would feel that I was ignoring you. At this time, in your heart, you would be hoping that I would talk to you." Chen Xiang giggled. "Sister Xiaojiu, don't be like this next time. I'm really worried that you won't care about me and hate me." Hanru scoffed. "What do I need to hate you for? You're the one who gave me my name." As she finished speaking, she gently smiled, which made Chen Xiang feel like a spring breeze blew past her heart. "Little Jiujie, you don't need to use that kind of seductive power. You only need to smile at me and you will be able to turn my divine soul upside down." Chen Xiang laughed. "Stop joking around, hurry up and bring me along to teleport." Hanru smiled slightly. When she smiled, it was filled with a kind of gentleness that made Chen Xiang's entire body go limp. Thus Chen Xiang wished to see her gentle side frequently, hence he named her Hanru. Chen Xiang held her soft and jade-like hand, opened up a spatial pa's sageway, and started to move. Yue was still following him. In order to deal with the trap in that kind of position, she needed her daughter's help. Yue was extremely proficient in these things. 2 days said. Under Hanru's guidance, Chen Xiang arrived at a large desert. This place was desolate and the divine aura was extremely thin. "Sister Xiaojiu, how are you getting along with Qilian and the others?" Chen Xiang asked, because Hanru had always been alone. "You got along well. I just did not expect your charm to be even stronger than mine, enticing so many beautiful and outstanding women." Hanru spent his days with that group of girls. How could he not know about Chen Xiang's romantic affairs? Chen Xiang felt that Hanru must still not know about what happened between him and Feng Yujie. If not, she would not view this matter so plainly. "Is it okay here?" Chen Xiang looked around. "Looks like a pretty good place. Let's summon the Nine Heaven Devil Palace here." Hanru nodded his head. "Your 4 symbols divine weapons should have gathered all of them. When that time comes, we can't make a mistake. We are going to enter that ninefold SPAC, and if there is even the slightest mistake, we will also be trapped inside. I've gathered all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back." Chen Xiang had even released the 4 symbols divine weapons, but upon seeing it, he nodded his head. Although they looked simple and crude, Johanna recognized them. She had seen the images of these divine weapons before. Chen Xiang took out 7 Chaos Fire tokens, and Yuer stuck her head out as well. Previously, Chen Xiang had told her that summoning 9 Heaven Devil Palace was better looking. Under Chen Xiang's control, the sky suddenly turned gray. Thick clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. Soon after, the sounds of berserk dragons roaring could be heard. The tremors on the ground became even more intense, and a black mist burst out of it. The sandstorm had stopped, and the earth was shrouded in darkness. Purple lightning flashed continuously, illuminating the land. The earth was covered in alternating flashes of purple and red. 9 Heaven Devil Palace had already appeared. There were more than 10 dual-headed demon dragons guarding the entrance of the demon palace, which was much larger than last time. These double-headed dragons were also larger. They were bound by thick black iron chains, and now that they were crazily roaring, the hundreds of black terrifying dragon heads were shaking and roaring, and their eyes were flashing red. It's different from last time. This 9 Heaven Devil Palace has become very strong as well. Johanna saw the door of the 9 Heaven Devil Palace slowly opening, and unexpectedly had a trace of fear, as he anxiously grabbed onto Chen Xiang's hand. Chen Xiang also hurriedly brought her pavilion master to make her feel safer. This kind of formation comes from the Star Law Divine Realm's Heavenly Demon and Earth Terminus formation. There are a total of 981 types, and these dragons are dual-headed demonic dragons, created through the formation. Yuer suddenly said, "I haven't seen him for a long time. When you mentioned him to me, I felt that he was a little familiar. Now that I saw him with my own eyes, I didn't expect it to be the Heavenly Demon and Earth Terminus formation." Hearing Yuer's words, Johanna could not help but be shocked, because she had also heard 9 divine kings mention it before. It was just that she did not hear it clearly at that time, and only knew what it was called, the Earth Fiend formation. Yuer, are you familiar with this formation? Because of Shui Bingyan, she was more familiar with Yuer. After coming back, Feng Yujie had some matters to attend to, so he said Shui Bingyan over to her. She took great care of him. I'm familiar with it. My father has an extremely deep understanding of this formation. Naturally, I know that my grandfather was one of the founders of this formation back then. Yuer laughed, showing her great confidence. Johanna was startled once again. This kitten's origins were actually this great. She had heard Feng Yujie say before that Yuer was the envoy from the mysterious Star Law Divine Realm. What Feng Yujie did not know was that Yuer's entire family came from an influential family. This was only known to Chen Xiang later on. Yuer's father was some kind of demon star in Star Moon Divine Race, so his grandfather would definitely not be a simple person. He was actually one of the founders of this Heavenly Demon Earth Terminus array. Chen Xiang asked, "How did this formation get transferred to here?" Yuer shook her head. "I don't know either, but because there were a lot of people involved in the creation back then, a total of hundreds of people, so it's not strange that there were so many people who had mastered it. This palace was sealed up by these kinds of formations. The more powerful of these formations, the more varied it is. It can create its own killing formations and all kinds of illusions." The 9 Heaven Devil Palace that Chen Xiang had summoned was very different from the last time. It was much more powerful. Hearing Yuer's words, he could guess that the array formation inside the 9 Heaven Devil Palace had already been altered. The 9 Heaven Devil Palace that Chen Xiang had summoned was very different from the last time. It was much more powerful. Hearing Yuer's words, he could guess that the array formation inside the 9 Heaven Devil Palace had already been altered. The Ghost Demon Sect is about to be activated. Just as she finished speaking, a large group of skeletons crawled out from the ground and stood at the sides of the gate. Chen Xiang and Johanna couldn't help but walk over. What do we do now? Chen Xiang's body could not help but start to move. He was currently unable to control his body, and his 2 feet quickly walked towards the center of the group of skeletons, towards the great entrance of the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Yue wasn't affected at all, and it was obvious that she had a way to deal with this situation. She said, "Don't worry about this one, we'll have to go in sooner or later anyway, you're safe now. Let's go in and see what kind of array there is." Chen Xiang and Hanru quickly entered the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. After entering, the interior was a deep red color, and after a closer look, it was actually a sea of blood. In the middle of the sea of blood was a road paved with snow-white skulls, just enough for 3 people to walk side by side. "It's very different from last time." Chen Xiang took a deep breath. He saw that bubbles would occasionally appear in the blood sea, as if there was some kind of monster down there. "This is the Heavenly Demon Blood Demon Array. The blood isn't flowed out by living beings, it is formed by an array formation. This array formation has to be careful not to fall into the blood. The blood is extremely hot and contains an extremely evil force." Yue said, "There's something wrong with this road. It's best not to walk on it." Chen Xiang took out the 6 realms mirrors. He controlled the 6 realms mirrors to grow bigger, and then he made the mirror face downward. When he and Hanru reached the top, he controlled the 6 realms mirrors to fly. The light S.H.I. plus Ning from the 6 realms mirrors mirror had an extremely strong purification power. After slowly flying over the white skull, the areas that it touched immediately turned red, and were filled with blood-colored skulls that had already been beaten back to their original forms. "If we go that way, it will be dangerous." Chen Xiang looked at those blood-colored skulls, and was secretly shocked in his heart. Hanru nodded his head. "Luckily we have Yue. Otherwise, it would have been much harder for us to enter this time." Now, she understood why Shui Bingyan liked Yue so much. Yue was already very cute to begin with, and adding that she was so powerful, even she wanted to pick her up right now. Chen Xiang controlled the 6 realms mirrors to quickly fly past the sea of blood. When they reached the other side, Hanru pointed in a direction and said, "The Heavenly Divine Palace is over there." Riding a 6 realms mirrors would be much safer, as long as Chen Xiang could familiarize himself with the killing array and control it. He would be able to rely on the 6 realms mirrors to make a strong attack. Chen Xiang controlled the 6 realms mirrors and entered the forest. Originally, he planned to fly over the forest, but when he flew to the top of the forest, he saw red lightning, so he could only enter the black forest. "Yue, is this a formation?" Hanru asked. "The inside has already become completely unrecognizable, even I can only distinguish the direction through the senses." Little Moon nodded and said, "It is also a formation, but this is a derived form of formation. It should be because it absorbed the Sea of Blood's energy that it was able to produce such a tree that can emit red cloud." Chen Xiang opened up the Tao Heart Eye that he had previously cultivated, and indeed, he saw red flowing tubes within the black trees. The blood-red light that permeated this place was the result of the mist released by the trees, which mulat into thick clouds in the air and produced bursts of lightning upon colliding with them. This formation doesn't have any offensive capabilities at the moment. It is only growing. It seems like we don't need to worry about these small arrays. These arrays do not have enough time to grow. Of course, when I grow up, these small formations are the most terrifying for me, because I don't know anything about them," Yue said. Chen Xiang increased his speed and flipped the 6 realms mirrors over. They stood on top of the mirror and released a pale white brilliance, making them feel very safe. Sing through the black forest, Chen Xiang and the others saw a dwarf mountain. Chen Xiang remembered this hill was a tomb, and it was said that many of Heavenly Divine Lord's powerful subordinates were buried here. "Yunhui!" Hanru shouted anxiously. She saw that a hole had been opened in the short mountain, and was extremely worried. Back then, when Chen Xiang and Hanru came here, they met a female tomb keeper named Chu Yunhui, so they had a very good relations. Hi plus P with him. Right now, there was such a huge change in the tomb that she was guarding. Johanru couldn't help but be worried. She shouted a few times, but there was no response. "Be careful!" Yu anxiously shouted. Chen Xiang also sensed that something dangerous was approaching, and immediately urged his 6 realms mirrors to dodge. A long spear shot out and struck a small hill in the distance, which was instantly engulfed in flames and disappeared in the blink of an eye, only leaving behind a blaze where it was burning. Yu said, "This guy is very powerful. We can't deal with him." Chen Xiang originally wanted to spar with Yu, but after hearing Yu's words, he immediately urged the 6 realms mirrors to dodge, and with Johanru also carrying him, the quickly flying 6 realms mirrors became a little unstable. Pas. Sing through the cemetery, Chen Xiang quickly saw the broken heavenly divine palace. The entrance to the ninefold S.P.A.C. was in a garden at the back of heavenly divine palace. "There's an illusory magic array here," Yu said. This illusion formation required the spirit grain within the Chaos Fire token to activate. Chen Xiang had solved it last time, and it was now very easy for him to undo it. Once he entered the array, the thing that was chasing them would lose its target. "This guy is actually still here." Johanru was shocked. "It's that Blee from the royal family who chased after us last time. This B.A.S.T.A.R.D. still hasn't left." Breaking through the illusion formation, Chen Xiang and Johanru were in a patch of grass land, and there was a green mountain, just like last time. "I wonder where Yunhui went. If anything happened to her, I definitely wouldn't let that B.A.S.T.A.R.D. out there get away with it." Johanru remembered that Chu Yunhui's whereabouts were unknown, and said coldly. Chen Xiang and Johanru quickly walked into Qingshan's cave. There was a stone platform here, and as long as they used Chaos Fire Token S, they would be able to open it and contact the 9 divine kings that was trapped inside the mountain. Chen Xiang and Johanru quickly walked into Qingshan's cave. There was a stone platform here, and as long as they used Chaos Fire Token S, they would be able to open it and contact the 9 divine kings that was trapped inside the mountain. After opening the stone platform, the image of the Great Divine Lord appeared again, though it was very blurry. "Great Divine Lord, I have found the 4 symbols divine weapons. What do I do now?" Chen Xiang asked anxiously, because at that moment, trembling came from the outside. It was obvious that someone was attacking the array, as though it was about to be broken through. "It looks like you've met with danger. Didn't I get an array disk here last time? I can teleport out of here, or I can teleport in. You didn't use it?" the Great Divine Lord asked curiously. "It's useless. That array disk has already lost its effect. Maybe it's because the 9 Heaven Devil Palaces array is stronger," Johanru said. He gave her the array disk. "Great Divine Lord, we are currently under attack here. I am worried that we won't be able to hold on much longer." Chen Xiang, back then you had fused with all the Chaos Fire token. There should have been some spirit grain inside. There were a total of 9 groups. Then, according to the sequence, you can use your divine power to inscribe all of the spirit grain. You can open a door that leads to a dimension, and enter that door to reach a dimension. When Great Divine Lord was speaking, Chen Xiang had already started drawing. A series of loud noises came from outside the cave. The huge green mountain was shaking. "There's more than one person outside. It seems like divine nations and the rest are waiting in ambush here." Yu said, "We have to finish it before they enter." Chen Xiang was already working hard to inscribe the spirit grain, and the explosions kept on happening. The shaking of the ground became even more violent, and many stones were falling out from the cave. Boom! An extremely loud sound came out, shaking Chen Xiang's heart to the point that it felt uncomfortable. "They're coming in!" Yu shouted in alarm, and the influence of the Great Divine Lord S were already extremely vague. "All right. At this critical moment, after Chen Xiang finished carving the spirit grain, a spatial gate appeared in front of him. He pulled Johanru and quickly walked in. The moment they entered the dimensional door, the green mountain was hit by a blue light, turning into dust in an instant. What about them? Is he dead? When I came in, I could feel that they were in that mountain. An old man wearing a golden robe said. He should be dead by now, but for safety's sake, let's just destroy this place. A man said. At this time, the people behind him also began to attack the green land. Chen Xiang and Johanru had already entered the first dimension. This first dimension was extremely small, only having a single courtyard. A very stable space, even if you try to attack it with force, it's hard to destroy. This was created by the Heavenly Divine Lord, right? He is indeed an extraordinary person. The legend of him forging divine weapons is spread throughout our star law divine realm, and the array formation is often on the lips of my grandfather. Yuer said. Yuer's grandfather was one of the founders of that heavenly demon and earth terminus formation, and was thus very familiar with the Tao of array formations. Johanru nodded his head. This ninefold space is unable to even break out of the 9 divine kings. You can only imagine how strong he is. Chen Xiang then started to inscribe the second group of spirit grain. This was the spirit grain that had entered the next dimension, and it was not complicated at all. It was just like the previous time. He was not in a rush right now, so he could slowly inscribe it. The construction of the ninefold space was very mysterious. If there was no key, then there was no way to enter the deepest layer, and even if one destroyed the first layer of space, the first layer would still be fine. However, it would be even more difficult to exit from it. Only the Heavenly Divine Lord herself knew how complex it was, especially when it was being set up. Yuer had a headache just thinking about it because it was extremely complicated and would take a long time to arrange. Even if a few Divine Lords were to come, I am afraid they would be unable to destroy ninefold space. The spirit grain he obtained with him had only entered the next dimension and had not come out yet. At this moment, he was also a little nervous. If he did not come out at all, he would be trapped like the 9 divine kings, and would be stuck inside for who knows how many years. Chen Xiang spent half a day before finally arriving at the 8th realm. From the 1st realm to the 8th realm, they were all of the same size, but he wondered how the first ninefold space was doing. Chen Xiang rested for a moment, then continued drawing the spirit grain. The spirit grain that were in the ninefold space were much more complicated, and the ones in front were much easier. Just as he was about to enter the ninefold space, the spirit grain that Chen Xiang had carved for 6 whole hours finally opened a spatial door. It's finally the end. Chen Xiang let out a long sigh, as though a heavy burden had been lifted, and then he entered the spatial gate with Johanru. When they arrived at the first ninefold space, both Chen Xiang and Johanru were surprised. Inside, there was actually a small mountain village. The small mountain village wasn't very big, and it was surrounded by white spatial barriers. However, the village was very beautiful. There were mountains and rivers, blue skies and white clouds, and the warm sunlight shone on the children's adorable little faces, making their smiles even more brilliant. Little Nona. Chu Yunhui saw Johanru from afar, and in a flash, he arrived in front of Johanru, hugging him tightly. He was dressed in COARS hemp clothes and had a gentle smile on his face. At the beginning, he only saw him walking over from afar, but after taking a few steps, he arrived in front of Chen Xiang. That's right, the 4 symbols divine weapons is already on you. I think we can start now. Great Divine Lord patted Chen Xiang's shoulder and laughed heartily. You are even more outstanding than I imagined. Johanru looked at Great Divine Lord, and also threw herself into his embrace, sobbing softly. Great Divine Lord was just like her father. Little girl, you shouldn't be as silly as you were before. The Great Divine Lord gently patted Johanna's back and said with a smile. Elder sister still has important matters to attend to, so she didn't come. Johanna wiped away his tears and smiled to Great Divine Lord. Where are the other divine kings? Speaking of the other divine kings, Chu Yunhui at the side had a sorrowful look on his face, while Great Divine Lord was also forcing a laugh. One look was enough to tell that something bad had happened. They're all gone. Great Divine Lord put a hand on Johanna's shoulder. He tried his best to remain calm and collected, but his voice still carried a trace of pain. This was his brother, who had lived with him in this world for a long time, yet had already disappeared. After Johanna heard this, she almost lost her balance. Chen Xiang anxiously went over to support her, and this was a huge blow to her. The other divine kings were like family to her. She thought back to the times when she was young and how these divine kings had imparted her knowledge. Now they're all gone. Can it be resurrected? Johanna's tears could not help but roll down her face. Great Divine Lord shook his head. Younger Nine girl, no need to be sad. Before they left, let me pass on to you and Elder Nine girl that you have more or less inherited their legacy, they will be with you. Now that there were only Great Divine Lord left, Chen Xiang felt very suspicious. Weren't the other 8 divine kings inside? How did he die? And their strength was not weak either. Now that there were only Great Divine Lord left, Chen Xiang felt very suspicious. Weren't the other 8 divine kings inside? How did he die? And their strength was not weak either. Johanna was also full of suspicions. When the Great Divine Lord saw her gaze filled with suspicion, she sighed. They are doing this to protect the tomb's subordinates. Those subordinates are not only our subordinates, but they were also once our royal father's subordinate. Previously, when Chen Xiang and the rest were passing by the short mountains, they saw that a hole had appeared on the summit of the short mountains. At that time, the situation was extremely critical. A large group of experts came from divine nations, and they knew that there were many seniors in the tomb who were in closed-door cultivation. They were existences that could pose a great threat to them in the future, so they wanted to destroy them. Chu Yunhui walked out and said, there was an extremely intense battle at that time, and the heavenly divine palace was destroyed because of it. When Chen Xiang and Johanna arrived, they saw that the heavenly divine palace had already turned into ruins. Chu Yunhui continued to speak. There is another strong one on the divine nations' side, as strong as the divine king. In order to protect our subordinates, the other 8 divine kings used secret techniques to strike together with all of their power. They pierced through the ninefold SPAC, killed the divine king, and then told us the way to get in. Only then can we be safe. Now, Chen Xiang and Johanna understood why the 9 divine kings in front of them looked so weak. So, it was because after going through such a thing, the great Divine Lord's cultivation was relatively high, thus he survived. The other 8 divine kings had already put life and death aside, sacrificing their own strength to penetrate the ninefold SPAC and rescue their subordinate. There was little left of the combined power of the 9 divine kings that could penetrate outside, but it was still enough to kill the expert from the divine nations. Don't be sad, we are already old. Don't look at how young I am right now. However, we are all from that era, and have reached the end of our lives. The great divine Lord sighed softly. They had been trapped here for so long and had obviously not improved, which had wasted a lot of their time. Even if they could leave, there wouldn't be enough time for them to cultivate. That was why they had decided to leave this hope to their subordinate. After all these years of training in the cemetery, they had all made great progress. What about the heavenly divine Lord? Can he revive? Johanna's heart was filled with sorrow. The other 8 divine kings had already died. She did not wish for great divine Lord to leave her side. Great Divine Lord was like her father, treating them very well since young. 9 Divine King shook his head. I'm afraid it won't do. Royal Father doesn't even have the chance to revive the 6 Divine Lord-s. Now, what we need to do is to strengthen ourselves as much as possible. It's time for the 9 Divine Lord-s to abdicate. Furthermore, with the constant annexation of the 9 heaven world, forming a history of the strongest world, there will definitely be many forces that will be building their own power in the 9 heaven world. Yue said, it is unavoidable that the Super God realm will be swallowed, but do you have a stronger world above the Super God realm? Can the 9 heaven world continue to swallow them up? Great Divine Lord had noticed Yue from the start. Hearing Yue's words, he couldn't help but reach out his hand to touch Yue. You're from Cat Race? Star Moon Divine Race. I also have the bloodline of the Cat Race. Yue replied. Super God Realm and Star Law Divine Realm are worlds that exist in the same SPAC. Although there is a huge disparity in strength, there is no need to travel across a higher level of SPAC to enter. In this same SPAC, there are also several other worlds as powerful as Star Law Divine Realm. That is to say, up until now, this SPAC is the end, and 9 Heaven World is no different from Star Law Divine Realm. Because they are both in the same SPAC, 9 Heaven World is unable to swallow Star Law Divine Realm that is far away in the starry sky. The Great Divine Lord said, of course you can't say for sure if there is a higher level SPAC up there, but my royal father had the same question before. Later on, he assured me that the SPAC was already the end and that it was extremely vast, and could hold many large and powerful worlds like the Star Law Divine Realm. Yue replied with a meow. If there is no higher level SPAC, then wouldn't it be impossible to break through the boundaries of power in this SPAC? This way, I won't be able to live forever. Great Divine Lord laughed calmly. Is it not enough? Possessing such peak-level power, it means that you have already lived for a very long time, and have not lived enough? It is indeed enough, but not everyone thinks that way. The desires of living beings are limitless. This is one of the reasons why living beings can continuously grow stronger. Yue said. The group of experts at the peak of Star Law Divine Realm had already broken the rules they had set back then just because they were chasing after longevity. The Great Divine Lord only sighed. Most people have other goals while alive, and these things are often very easy to obtain, and they are often overlooked. I was trapped here for many years before I realized it. They were all ordinary people, but they lived a very satisfied life. Maybe they had a short lifespan, but they were able to realize that the things that were most important to them were not things that were overlooked just because they were blind, but things that were important to them. Family love, simple and happy, a peaceful life. This is indeed very important, but it is often overlooked. Yue also sighed. Chen Xiang did not say anything. Feng Yujie had entered his divine sense CSPAC before, so his divine sense CSPAC fully displayed the life that he was pursuing. To ordinary people, this was a very normal life, but to him, this was an extravagant request. Great Divine Lord, how are you recovering? Can we go out now? Johanru asked. It's all right. It's not a problem to deal with those fellows outside. Great Divine Lord looked at Chen Xiang, took out a black iron chain and said it to him. What is this? When Chen Xiang received it, he only felt a faint warmth from the chains, which wasn't too heavy. The 5th GO delay weapon, Fire Chain Qilin, uses a variety of different methods. It can be used to whip people, or it can be used to bind people, and it can release a very strong flame. Great Divine Lord smiled slightly. I promised you before, as long as you find 4 symbols divine weapons and enter, I will give this to you. Johanru asked curiously. Was this also refined by the heavenly divine palace? I've never seen it before. Royal Father thinks that this is the most precious divine weapon. It was also due to him spending a lot of effort to finish it, but he hasn't used it much. The great divine lord said, Chen Xiang, fuse all of the divine weapons together, then find a group of spirit grains hidden within the 5 divine weapons. Once they are merged together, they can teleport us out. Chen Xiang had only merged with his profound clothing, nothing else. Of course, the fact that he was able to obtain these divine weapons meant that the gods had already acknowledged him, and only needed one final step to fuse them. If the divine weapons did not approve, then even dripping blood would be useless. Chen Xiang had only merged with his profound clothing, nothing else. Of course, the fact that he was able to obtain these divine weapons meant that the gods had already acknowledged him, and only needed one final step to fuse them. If the divine weapons did not approve, then even dripping blood would be useless. Chen Xiang took out the divine weapon that he had yet to fuse with, and after a drop of blood fell on it, these divine weapons immediately formed a very close relations. Hi+P with him, as if they were made of flesh and blood, and entered his body through the mist. After fusing all the divine weapons, he went to check the inside of the divine weapons and quickly found the spirit grain that great divine lord had mentioned just now. Each divine weapon was a set and they could be fused together, but they were all recorded in separate divine weapons. Are there any spirit grains inside? The great divine lord asked. Because he himself did not check the inside of the divine weapon, this was something he could only look at with blood. He had only heard it from the heavenly divine lord. Chen Xiang nodded his head. It will take some time to finish inscribing these spirit grain. I won't be able to do it that quickly. At this time, he had already begun drawing spirit grains with his fingertips. These spirit grains all contained his 6 realms power. You only need to draw these spirit grain, and they will be able to absorb the energy hidden here. After that, you can teleport the village here to the side of the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. At that time, you will have to destroy the entire 9 Heaven Devil Palace. The great divine lord said, we need 5 types of divine weapons and 7 chaos fire token to destroy the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Johanru was a little reluctant. This is the 9 Heaven Divine Palace, although the Heavenly Divine Palace hidden inside has been destroyed, but this was after all, built by you people for many years. Don't worry, these are all things from the past. After we leave this place, we will be able to quickly build a Heavenly Divine Palace. Don't forget my father's group of subordinates, they are all powerful. Right now, they are all continuing to cultivate in seclusion in the village. I'll go greet them later and tell them that they can leave very soon. Towards the subordinates of Heavenly Divine Lord back then, even he had to be respectful to them. Yuer flew out from Chen Xiang's backpack and asked curiously, Great Divine Lord, Heavenly Divine Lord's subordinates should be very powerful, right? But they were all forced into such a corner. What kind of person exactly did Divine Nations send? Great Divine Lord had previously said those words lightly, but to have 8 divine kings sacrifice themselves to eliminate such people, they must be extremely terrifying and definitely not ordinary. That fellow's name is Great National Master, and he comes from the 9 Yang Divine Nations. Fortunately, only one Great National Master came at that time. Great Divine Lord said, the so-called Great National Master has 90 divine deity and 5 bones and above. They hold a very high position within the divine nations, and normally speaking, every divine nations has a few of these Great National Masters. Some of them focus on power, some of them focus on concocting pills, and some even focus on creating formations. Looks like the guy who attacked me back then should be the Great National Master. No wonder he was so powerful. Yuer became angry just thinking about it. If she wasn't attacked by the divine nations, she wouldn't have become their sacrifice. The reason 6 divine nations were quickly annihilated back then was because 2 of their 6 great national masters betrayed the sect, causing their strength to be greatly weakened. Otherwise, even if the 9 nations were to fight with their lives, winning against them would not be worth it. Back then, it was precisely because we had 9 powerful great national masters that we 9 brothers were able to survive. As for the other 9 ODS nations, we 9 divine lords were also heavily injured because of this, and have not recovered fully until now. Back then, the 9 great national masters risked their lives and used an extreme method to injure their opponent heavily. Originally, they were trying to buy time for us 9 brothers to restore our nation, but who would have known that we would fall into this trap and miss out on the most precious time. Back then, you did your best to form good relations with the All-Beast Divine Lord to help him. That was to ally with him, wasn't it? You asked. That's right, at that time the All-Beast Divine Lord was also ambitious. However, before the Divine Nations was built, he suffered a devastating blow. However, All-Beast Divine Lord did not sustain any major injuries. He is still sleeping at the bottom of the Beast God mountain. Great Divine Lord said, he seems to have an unlimited lifespan. If that was the case, then once All-Beast Divine Lord was revived, there would be no need to worry too much about his safety. Beast Divine Palace would definitely be able to hold on, and Beast Divine Palace's 4 protectors and divine beasts like Hi Plus would also awaken their memories. Chen Xiang felt that the White Tiger and the other spirit beasts would definitely become existences at the level of the great national master in the future. At the moment, the spirit grain that Chen Xiang was inscribing was much more complicated than when he first entered. Fortunately, he did not consume too much, and the 6 realms' power in his divine sense was also very vast, so he had more than enough to draw these spirit grain. While Chen Xiang was drawing the spirit grain, many gray-robed and hooded people walked out. Their expressions were extremely serious. There were more than a few hundred of them, standing together. It was extremely terrifying. They should be the subordinates of the Heavenly Divine Lord, who had been cultivating in seclusion in the tomb for a long time. Half a day later, Chen Xiang was finally done. It's done. Everyone, get ready. There might be a fight. Great Divine Lord's face was solemn. He took out a long sword, and at the same time, the villagers all entered the small hut. The little village was full of murderous intent. The atmosphere was depressing. Everyone was ready for a big battle. The spirit grain Hi Plus mirrored as it floated in the air, flickering faster and faster. It kept changing its color and the light became more and more dazzling. Great Divine Lord and his several hundred subordinates were clenching their fists tightly. The power in their bodies seemed to have started to boil. They were finally going to see the light of day again. The spirit grain continued to flash crazily, and rays of light enveloped the entire village. In the blink of an eye, Chen Xiang felt a very familiar aura, as well as a faint heat attack. The spirit grain stopped flash. Hi Plus ing and gradually disappeared. The small village had already been teleported out. It was just that it was in a desert, and not far away was the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. The dozens of dual-headed demon dragons at the entrance of the 9 Heaven Devil Palace suddenly roared, and the 9 Heaven Devil Palace actually slowly rotated, aiming the entrance towards them. Destroy this 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Great Divine Lord anxiously said to Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang took out 7 Chaos Fire Tokens, and used his consciousness to probe the 7 Chaos Fire Tokens and the 5 Divine Weapons at the same time. He discovered that there was a similarly white spirit vein inside, and he immediately merged with it. The 7 Chaos Fire Tokens had fused into one, turning into 5 different types of multicolored light, which shot into the 5 Divine Weapons. The Divine Weapons shone brightly, and at the same time, released an extremely strong multicolored light, which instantly shot towards the 9 Heaven Devil Palace. Boom! Boom! At this time, the entire desert was shaking violently with the 9 Heaven Devil Palace, and black chi was constantly flowing out from the Demon Palace. The roaring double-headed demon dragon started to gradually break down, and waves of black chi appeared on its body. Following the continuously overflowing of the black chi, the 2-headed demon dragon's figure also became fainter and fainter. The demon palace began to collapse, emitting rumble sounds. Black and blood-red mist overflowed into the sky, inciting streaks of blood-red lightning. The demonic palace, which was slowly collapsing, suddenly shot out beams of light. It was obvious that they were the divine nation's warriors hiding inside the demonic palace. "Attack!" Great Divine Lord roared loudly, causing the group of gray-robed people behind him to disappear. Chen Xiang was slightly shocked. He saw that hundreds of gray figures had appeared in the sky above the demon palace, and all the divine nation's rankers that had just came out were instantly turned into ashes by these hundreds of gray-robed men. Also, "What's next is the stronger one," Great Divine Lord shouted. Sure enough, a golden light flashed in the demon palace. A golden-robed man appeared, and with a sweep of the long sword in his hand, he unleashed a wave of sword chi formed from countless golden sword shadows. This sword chi was like an angry beast, baring its fangs and brandis. Plus ing its claws as it charged out from the ground, repelling those reminiscents who wanted to surround them. Ninth Prince. The golden-robed man was shocked. He never thought that the Great Divine Lord would actually come out and hide so much power. Great Divine Lord shouted from afar, and a huge 5-clawed dragon appeared in a flash in the air. With its mouth wide open, it transformed into a bolt of lightning and rushed towards the golden-robed man. A deafening dragon roar rang out, and the 5-clawed golden dragon instantly dispersed after colliding with the golden-robed man. The golden-robed man was also sent flying, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Humph! The golden-robed man suddenly released a huge golden bell, enveloping him and blocking the following countless violent golden lightning bolt. This was an attack from a distance launched by the Great Divine Lord, but it was so terrifying that even the sky changed color. Not long after the golden lightning attacked, the large golden bell exploded with a flash and disappeared. He escaped. That bell is a teleportation tool. It can protect his escape. Great Divine Lord snorted. Count him lucky this time. At this time, many experts from the divine nations flew out from the demon palace, but were all killed by the gray-robed men. Only the golden-robed man could escape. 9 Heaven Devil Palace had already completely collapsed. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of streaks of blazing lightning struck down, incinerating the 9 Heaven Devil Palace that had turned into ashes. Looking at the raging flames in front of him, Hanru recalled her childhood. "Will they send the great national master?" Chen Xiang asked worriedly. "No, one of them died before, they are afraid. And they have a lot of problems on their hands right now." The Great Divine Lord said, "Now we must quickly finish the construction of the Heavenly Divine Palace. Do you need help?" Chen Xiang asked. "No need, you guys must prepare well. If the transfer of the 9 GODS nation's throne is complete, then we will be very busy." The Great Divine Lord said, "We will be building the shrine very quickly. We have all the materials and the formations are also already prepared by using array disk." Yue said, "But you also need some energy to maintain the operation of the formation. The formations of your heavenly divine palace should consume a lot of energy." "Don't worry about that, we have a dragon vein. As long as we place the dragon vein in the ground and connect it with the core well, we will be able to obtain endless energy." Great Divine Lord smiled. "Go and busy yourselves. Thank you very much." Great Divine Lord patted Qin Xiang's shoulder. "In the future we can fight together." Qin Xiang nodded. Great Divine Lord looked at Hanru and said, "After all these years, you and Big Sis should have some matters to attend to, right? You guys have your own groups, friends, and your own lives." Hanru wanted to stay and help, but Great Divine Lord had already made it clear. The current Great Divine Lord was still very strong, and had a group of strong subordinates as well. This made Chen Xiang and Johanru feel at ease. At least the current 9 heaven worlds still had a very strong power, so they did not need to worry about suffering a blow after swallowing the Super G.O.D realm. After Chen Xiang and Johanru bid their farewell to the Great Divine Lord, they headed towards a nearby city. They used this city to teleport to the 9 heaven city, and then returned from the 9 heaven city to the place where LV Qilian and the others were hiding. How is it? 9 divine kings and the rest have come out? LV Qilian sensed movement from the transmission array, and in a blink of an eye, he was already here. It's a long story. Johanru was still a little hurt. Chen Xiang said, Qilian, is Qilian here? I have something to talk to her about. When they were in Super G.O.D realm, Chen Xiang had promised that he would help that group of little elves find a safe place to stay. Right now this was the best choice, and LV Qilian had previously gotten a little elf there, so he wanted to talk to her about this matter. Yes, we'll be able to see her garden after we climb the mountain. She and Ziqian have planted quite a few poisonous flowers and poisonous plants there. LV Qilian pointed over there and then asked, Why are you looking for her? LV Qilian was LV Qilian's younger sister. Although she knew that LV Qilian had that kind of feelings towards him, she still felt a little unhappy. She felt that Chen Xiang was going to bully LV Qilian. I have a group of little elves in my ring. I remember that she also had one there, so I wanted to talk to her and ask her where the little elves clan should be settled. Chen Xiang said, and then he summoned out a very small, very cute little female elf from within the netherworld Adumbra ring. After seeing it, LV Qilian and Johanru were also very surprised, because they found out about LV Qilian's little goblin, but they did not know that the little goblin had changed her name to Little Fairy. Then go. That little demoness knows this place very well. She will tell you where is more suitable for this group of little fellows. LV Qilian said. Chen Xiang headed towards the mountain while LV Qilian and Johanru went to look for Feng Yujie. Not long after, Chen Xiang went over the mountain. When he came down, he saw a beautiful girl in a green skirt jumping around in the sea of flowers. The sea of flowers below had all sorts of flowers. They were bright and beautiful, but they were all extremely powerful poisonous flowers. Of course, the most beautiful one was still LV Qilian's beauty flower. Furthermore, it was extremely poisonous, and was able to release a bizarre body fragrance. It was extremely poisonous, and Chen Xiang had almost been poisoned to death by it. Sister Qilian! Chen Xiang shouted while grinning from the distance. When LV Qilian saw this, she was stunned for a moment before flying over quickly. She was pleasantly surprised to see Chen Xiang. Little scoundrel, you're finally back. LV Qilian's delicate and pretty face carried a happy smile, while the little demon girl Xiao Yao, who was taken in by her, also flew over. Bad guy, although we haven't seen each other for many years, you still look so bad. Xiao Yao shouted with her tender voice, then she grimaced at Chen Xiang. Little thing, you still remember me after so many years. It seems like I'm too bad, and have left such a deep impression on you. Chen Xiang laughed sinisterly, and let Xiao Yao hide in his hair. Xiao Yao shouted, This scoundrel is going to break. Chen Xiang was completely speechless towards this little thing. Seeing his helpless expression, LV Qilian burst out in laughter. You little scoundrel, right now you're famous. Chen Xiang was completely speechless towards this little thing. Seeing his helpless expression, LV Qilian burst out in laughter. You little scoundrel, right now you're famous. Little scoundrel, little scoundrel. Xiao Yao, this little elf, stuck her head out from LV Qilian's hair and shouted at him. How long have you been back? LV Qilian giggled. Xiao Yao wasn't serious, he was just a little mischievous. Chen Xiang reached out his hand to grab Xiao Yao, but she hid herself and shouted, making Chen Xiang laugh. I just got back not long ago. Chen Xiang came to LV Qilian's back and caressed her hair, because Xiao Yao was hiding inside. Xiao Yao flew out from LV Qilian's long hair, and then hid inside LV Qilian's clothes, into the ravine between LV Qilian's B-R-E-A-S-T-S. Little scoundrel, come and catch me, come and catch me. Ha ha. The little elf started to giggle, her laughter was filled with provocation, and at the moment, Chen Xiang's gaze was focused on LV Qilian's chest, causing his face to turn red, and he gently patted Xiao Yao who was hiding within her clothes. Did you go find Xian and the others? You didn't come looking for me as soon as you came back, did you? As LV Qilian spoke, he grabbed Xiao Yao out of her chest, and just as he grabbed Xiao Yao out, her chest revealed an attractive sight. She felt Chen Xiang's eyes looking at her a moment ago, and her face seemed to have turned a little redder. I haven't seen them yet. As soon as I came back, I went with little sister Jiao to summon the 9 Heaven Devil Palace and release them. I heard from little Jiao sis that Xian and the others are very busy right now, they should be refining in their closed doors. Chen Xiang looked at LV Qilian's jade face that was slightly flushed, and said while laughing. LV Qilian scoffed, then why are you looking for me? Xiao Yao immediately said. He came to play tricks on you, look at his eyes, it's L.U.S. fool. Chen Xiang ignored Xiao Yao, and at this time, his expression had become serious and he said, Big sis Qilian, you should know Xiao Yao very well, right? When I was in the Super God realm, I met a little elf tribe. They were also called Little Demonists previously, so I think that Xiao Yao should belong to the same clan as them. That little elf tribe has met with some trouble and needs to move their entire tribe. Do you think there's a suitable place for them here? Hearing that it was related to him, Xiao Yao became extremely excited and asked anxiously, Where are they now? What did they look like? Just tell me, you're not a bad guy. Chen Xiang laughed involuntarily. They are with me, I have already brought them here. There are several thousands of them. The way they look. For example, their wings have petals, leaves, turflies and dragonflies. It's them. They're from the same race as me. Previously, she was always a distance away from Chen Xiang. Now that she knew Chen Xiang had brought the entire little fairy clan here, she was extremely grateful to Chen Xiang. Little thing, now you know that I'm a good person. Chen Xiang laughed, and used her pinky to poke at Xiao Yao's beautiful face. Chen Xiang asked, Xiao Yao, since they are of the same race as you, then where do you think they should settle down? They told me before that as long as it was safe, it would be fine, because the sacred grounds that they built had already been seized twice, as long as the sacred grounds were not taken. But I feel that since I have agreed to help them find a place to settle down, I must find the best one. That's why I came to find Sister Qilian to ask her. Let them out, I'll show them around here. Xiao Yao jumped in excitement on Chen Xiang's palms. Her cute appearance caused Yuer to fly out from her backpack. Yuer had always been a cute little fellow in the eyes of others, but at this time, Xiao Yao was also a very cute little thing in her eyes. She's not one of my people, and she's still so big. When Xiao Yao saw Yuer suddenly flying out, he screamed strangely in fright. This made LV Qilian and Chen Xiang unable to refrain from laughing, and Yuer was also giggling happily. She is Yuer. It's the little white cat that Bing Yan always mentioned. Even though LV Qilian had never seen Yuer before, he had heard Shui Bingyan mention her before. Oh, I remember. Lo big brother Yuer. Xiao Yao immediately shouted, and even flapped her small transparent wings, flying onto Yuer's back. Chen Xiang and LV Qilian immediately laughed heartily. You have to call me big sister. Yuer could not help but laugh as well as she recalled the time Shui Bingyan called Chen Xiang big sister. Yuer looked young, but her mental age wasn't young. Furthermore, she had experienced many things. However, she was still able to play around like a naughty child. Chen Xiang released the group of little elves from his ring. When these little elves came out and saw so many beautiful flowers, they started to cheer, but they did not fly around, because Chen Xiang had already warned them not to run around. When Bai Yi saw Xiao Yao, he was also very happy. Furthermore, he was using the traditional method of their clan to welcome Xiao Yao back to their clan. "Don't worry, we aren't afraid of poison." Seeing Chen Xiang's worried expression, Xiao Yao knew that he was worried that the little fairy would be poisoned by the poisonous flowers and herbs here. Xiao Yao had a very good impression of her now. Although she had gotten along well with LV Qinlian, she felt very lonely when she thought about how there was only one little elf in this world, and now that Chen Xiang had brought her a few thousand, she was extremely happy. Chen Xiang had also let out little lightning, and the lightning lion was playing quite well with this group of little fellows inside the ring. At this moment, the group of little elves and rascals were squeezed onto little lightning's back. Riding on such a big horse was the most impressive thing for these kids, just like a big hero. "Let's go, I'll take you guys to pick a place. It's very safe here." Xiao Yao flew in front, with a few thousand little elves flapping their wings and following her. They were flying above the sea of flowers, and the scene looked very beautiful. Little Lightning and Moonchild followed them to play, and along the way, they were full of laughter and laughter. Now, only Chen Xiang and LV Qinlian were left. "Brat, didn't you see enough just now?" LV Qinlian realized that Chen Xiang's gaze was dishonest, and said with her charming voice, "Sister Qinlian, do you still remember the times when we were together in the past?" Chen Xiang chuckled. "I once wanted to kiss you, but because the poison in your body is so strong, I just couldn't get my hands on it." LV Qinlian laughed tenderly. "That's the only way. But come to think of it, you even dared to eat Big Sister Ziqian's tofu. I was also in danger back then." Saying that, Chen Xiang had already hugged LV Qinlian. After struggling for a while, LV Qinlian used too much force and caused both of them to fall on the grass, causing Chen Xiang to hold them even tighter. "Little scoundrel, aren't you afraid of being poisoned to death? My poison is extremely potent." Although LV Qinlian was struggling, her face was still filled with a charming smile, and her eyes were still filled with a kind of faint antic.I.P.ation. "Little scoundrel, aren't you afraid of being poisoned to death? My poison is extremely potent." Although LV Qinlian was struggling, her face was still filled with a charming smile, and her eyes were still filled with a kind of faint antic.1p.ation. "It's worth it even if I die." Chen Xiang laughed, and gently hugged LV Qinlian. He kissed her cherry lips a few times, but she didn't resist, she only catered to Chen Xiang. At this time, LV Qinlian did not know why, but he felt that his body was warm and he released an intoxicating smell, causing him to take a deep breath. "That is my poison. I can't control it." As LV Qinlian spoke, her small mouth was also emitting a rich fragrance. After Chen Xiang breathed in a few mouthfuls of the fragrance, he became even more infatuated with it. LV Qinlian was initially worried, but after seeing that Chen Xiang was able to absorb so much without doing anything, he was at ease. Now that Chen Xiang had cultivated his bones, his body was already extremely strong, and could resist the poison in LV Qinlian's body. "Ugh! Little scoundrel!" LV Qinlian could feel that Chen Xiang was extremely infatuated with her, and even hugged her very tightly. She also seemed to be a little intoxicated, and unknowingly, she started to kiss Chen Xiang, who had forgotten about herself, rolling on the soft grass. After half an hour, LV Qinlian woke up from her stupor and her body had been petted by Chen Xiang's hands. She was worried that the two of them would do something intimate in such an environment, so she had to quickly stop it from happening. "Enough, we can't stay here." Her beautiful and cute nose wrinkled, and smelled the remaining fragrance of her body from Chen Xiang's body. Although it was no longer poisonous, once she went closer, she would definitely be smelt. Yue had also flown out at this time. She had clearly been back since a long time ago, but she didn't want to disturb Chen Xiang, so she hid at the side. She was no longer surprised by Chen Xiang's actions. You have my scent on you, quickly remove it. It's not good to be discovered by my sister. I keep having the feeling that she's a little against you in her heart. LV Qinlian said, a little worried that her sister would find out about his relations. Hi+P with Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang laughed. To think that you are her younger sister. She was just faking it. She had already made love to me a long time ago. Xian Xian and elder sister Menger are both aware of this, and had even slept with me before. Huh! LV Qinlian was extremely shocked. She never thought that LV Qinlian would have been like Chen Xiang, or that he would be like her, who was also like Chen Xiang. Sister Qinlian, take me to Bing Yen. Although she and I have not been separated for long, Super G. O. D realm and this place have different times. To her, it has been a long time since she and I have separated. Yue flew in front of LV Qinlian and let him carry her. LV Qinlian said worriedly, Yue, I have poison in my body, I'm worried that it will poison you. In her eyes, Yue was still just a little kitten. She was worried that if she accidentally released that kind of poisonous scent, Yue wouldn't be able to handle it. It's alright, I also smelled that poison just now. Actually, I know that your actual body is that of a lotus. Yue playfully rubbed against LV Qinlian's chest, making Chen Xiang jealous. I am. Poison Love Emperor Lotus? This was the first time LV Qinlian heard this name. I asked Sister Feng, she doesn't know where I come from, and Grandma LV doesn't know either. I didn't expect you to know this. Is there anything special about this exorcist Emperor Lotus? Chen Xiang really wanted to know as well. The first time he had nearly been poisoned to death by the strange fragrance from LV Qinlian's body, he already knew that LV Qinlian was no ordinary lotus goblin. Yue replied, what's even more peculiar is the aphrodisiac in your body. It's also the fragrance from earlier. Actually, you don't have to worry about it. This kind of body fragrance has a lot to do with your emotions. If you failed to control the poison initially, it would become extremely toxic, and even those with high resistance would suffer. If I am unable to control this poison, it will easily harm the people around me. LV Qinlian nodded. I didn't dare to be with others until I could control the release of this poison. However, I lost control just now. Yue laughed. That's because your emotions have reached a state of extreme excitement. You know your heart best, so you released it. The only thing is that the poison you release is rather special. It's something that is specifically used on your most beloved opposite S. EX. Chen Xiang asked anxiously. What do you mean? I'm poisoned? He has been poisoned, and it's a very powerful poison. You're the only one who knows how to take this poison, and I could smell that it would be fine, because this poison was released based on Sister Qinlian's feelings for you. That is to say, you are her lover, her most beloved. If you want to abandon her in the future, or kill her, or if she hates you, I don't know what will happen if the poison in your body flares up, because there has never been such an example. Yue said. Chen Xiang S. Hi+ Vered. Yue, I know young master, please don't scare me. Yue continued, I really won't scare you. Sister Qinlian, you probably rarely use the poisonous scent you have on you, right? LV Qinlian was surprised by the effectiveness of her poison. She could not believe it, but she had to confirm if it was real. Unless she really hated Chen Xiang, she would never do it. She would not do it even if she loved him. I rarely use it because it's very dangerous. I'm worried that it might harm the people around me. LV Qinlian nodded. Actually, you don't have to worry. Now that you are free to start using the poisonous scent on your body, then this kind of poisonous scent will also follow your own will, and will poison others. For example, the people who have a good relations, Hi+P with you, or the people who are not your enemies will not be poisoned. Yue replied, aromatic emperor lotuses are extremely rare. Basically, there's no aromatic emperor lotus after the transformation. I also read about it from ancient books. You should be able to control your poisonous scent at the second stage. If it is the third stage, then your poisonous scent will no longer be venom, but the strange aroma of healing and detoxification. The fourth stage might also be able to increase one's strength, and through the infection of other people's emotions, it will be able to awaken the hidden strength in the depths of the human body. LV Qinlian was extremely shocked. Is he really that powerful? I actually don't know anything about myself. Yue meowed. I've read about this in the books. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but you can verify it in the future. Seeing Yue making Chen Xiang's hair stand on end, LV Qinlian smiled and said, Good little brother, don't worry, I won't hate you. As he said that, he kissed Chen Xiang on the cheek, telling him not to worry anymore. Let's go find Bing Yan. LV Qinlian hugged Yue, his face full of joyous smile as he walked in the sea of flowers.